Have you ever wondered where the universe dreams? Out in the boundless stretch of space, far from stars that blaze and planets that spin, there are places where silence is deeper than sleep, and colors drift like whispered thoughts. Close your eyes, take a breath, and let go of the weight of your day. You've arrived at the edge of imagination, and I invite you now, listen to my calm voice, to let it carry you gently through the quiet folds of the cosmos. This is your time to rest. Beyond the familiar trails of the solar winds, past the last murmur of our sun's breath, there is a border not marked on any chart. A soft shimmer of invisible boundaries where the known ends and something else begins. The spacecraft you find yourself aboard isn't loud or grand. It hums in tones as soft as cotton, like a lullaby woven from silver thread. You sit nestled in a curved seat molded perfectly for rest, encased in glass that glows dimly with starlight. Ahead lies the veil, a region untouched by time, a place where nebulas rest in quiet formation, layered like pillows in the great cradle of the cosmos. There is no rush here, no urgency, only the gentle unfolding of space itself as the vessel glides forward, propelled by no force you can name. The darkness ahead begins to change. It no longer feels empty. Swirls of indigo and pale lavender begin to bloom against the black, barely visible at first, like memories returning from a dream. This is the entrance to the nebula drift, an ancient stretch of space where star clouds sleep in silent elegance. Your ship slows, as if respecting the sacred hush. Outside the wide viewing dome, particles of cosmic dust shimmer with faint color, each one a tiny mirror reflecting distant stars. These are not ordinary stars. They do not twinkle or burn. They pulse gently, as if breathing in long, slow waves. The light they cast is not harsh, but soft and enfolding. Soon, the first great shape emerges, a slumbering formation of gas and light known to some as the dreaming petal. It stretches like a ribbon of watercolor, vast and slow, blooming in waves of deep rose and lilac, brushed with hints of cool teal and ivory. The edges curl like soft feathers, and its center glows with a warm golden hush. There is no sound, yet your mind hears the colors, each shade whispering something unspoken. You gaze at it and feel your thoughts begin to slow, your breath syncing with the rhythm of its movement. It's as if the nebula is dreaming, and for a moment you are a part of that dream. This is where nebulas sleep. Deeper now, the dreaming petal fades slowly behind your vessel, its soft hues dissolving into the infinite dark like the tail end of a lullaby. The ship presses gently forward, its silver form cutting through the thickening dreamscape with no sound, no struggle, only grace. Around you, the colors begin to deepen, shifting from the pastel quiet of rose and lilac into a richer spectrum. Smoky violet, midnight blue, and whispers of molten gold. This is the outer rim of the murmuring veil, a place where the density of cosmic dust and drifting starlight grows thicker, heavier, as though the universe itself has exhaled and the breath has settled here. It is neither cold nor warm. Instead, it wraps around your vessel like velvet, weightless yet full of presence. There is no danger here, no storm, only the feeling that everything has slowed, the pace of time, the rhythm of thought, even the motion of light. You drift, and the world behind you fades into silence, replaced by the embrace of this sleepy, luminous tide. Outside the viewing dome, the landscape of space transforms. Long filaments of gas stretch across your view, interwoven like strands of glowing hair, pale green and dusky mauve. Some shimmer faintly like echoes of distant laughter. Others are almost still, so quiet they seem painted rather than alive. These veils do not drift like the petals before. They hover, suspended as though waiting. Some call them the ancient threads of unformed stars, the resting dreams of suns not yet born. And here, amid their stillness, a faint pulse can be felt. It does not come from the ship, nor from any system or machine. It seems to hum in the walls, in the air, in your chest, a vibration without sound, like the slow heartbeat of space itself. You close your eyes and feel it gently thrum, steady and slow, as if the universe were breathing, not in the way of planets or people. Your breath falls into step with it, and you feel the space around you not as empty, but alive with quiet life. Within the heart of the murmuring veil, shapes begin to emerge, not solid, not entirely real, but present. A great spiral swirls in the distance, formed from loops of glistening sapphire mist. It does not rotate like a galaxy. It moves more slowly, unfurling so gradually that you wonder if it is motion at all. Around it, smaller clouds drift like dancers moving in slow motion, circling the spiral's edge with unspoken choreography. Some carry faint flickers of starlight at their centers, not stars but perhaps the promise of them. They blink once, then fade. The ship's windows dim slightly to soften the intensity of the colors, but nothing dims the sense of awe. It is not the kind of awe that stirs the heart to race. It is quieter, softer, a serenity that moves through your thoughts like a breeze through tall grass. You lean back into your seat, wrapped in silence and soft light, and allow yourself to drift, as the nebulas do, as dreams do, deeper into the color of sleep. As the murmuring veil recedes behind you, the ship eases into a darker, quieter region, a hollow in space, where even the glowing dust dares only to whisper. This place is called the Celestial Hollow, a name spoken in hushed tones by those who map the intangible. It is not empty, though it appears that way at first. Instead, it holds a unique kind of stillness, the kind that exists not in the absence of things, but in the presence of deep waiting. It is a cradle of hush between dreams. The light here is faint and scattered, gentle as candle smoke, drifting in and out of view as though space itself were blinking slowly. Pale arcs of amber glow twist through the dark like threads of forgotten thought. The stars are distant pinpricks, softened by dust, their edges blurred like memories. You watch them from your place of comfort, wrapped in the hush, and feel the weight of silence settle warmly around your shoulders. There is nothing to fear in this quiet, only the vast comfort of knowing the universe is, at its heart, deeply at peace. The hollow breathes in cycles, not of wind or tide, but of light and texture. At one moment, the walls of space appear smooth and shadowed, like satin in the dark, and in the next, faint sparkles emerge, not stars but motes of energy dancing like glints of frost in a moonbeam. They shimmer in gentle waves, responding not to motion, but to presence. As your vessel moves, it leaves a soft wake behind, visible only in glimmers, like footsteps through fog. The ship seems smaller here, as though the hollow stretches endlessly in all directions. Yet you don't feel lost, you feel held. This part of space is not empty. It is resting. Everything about it speaks of pause, of patience, of listening. You lean forward slightly, not to see more, but to be closer to whatever it is that hums just beyond hearing. A slow, resonant vibration runs beneath everything, subtle as the touch of a feather on skin. Some say this is the space between dreams, a place where one thought ends and another has not yet begun. Within this soft expanse, something new begins to form, a shape unlike any before. Not a cloud, not a star, but a sphere of woven color, almost invisible, like glass dipped in starlight. It floats gently toward your ship, not with purpose, but with curiosity, or perhaps coincidence. As it drifts close, the dome darkens to allow your eyes to see it more clearly. It is vast, the size of a small moon, yet weightless. Its surface is textured like the inside of a shell, iridescent, fluid, and faintly glowing from within. Every few moments, a pulse of pale pink light spreads across it, followed by a wash of soft blue and then a breath of quiet silver. The patterns repeat, though never quite the same way twice. This is a dream shell, or so some call it, a structure born from pure cosmic stillness, thought to be created when the universe holds a memory so gentle it needs a place to keep it. As it floats beside you, time itself seems to slow. Your thoughts grow quieter, your eyes grow heavier. It is not a tiredness, but a calm, a readiness to let go of wakefulness, to allow the stars to carry you softly and safely into the next page of the dream. The dream shell lingers behind, fading like a lantern drifting into mist, its soft pulses echoing in your thoughts long after it disappears from view. Your ship moves on, quietly, gently, as if cradled by unseen hands. Ahead, a new light begins to grow. Not sudden or sharp, but slow and smooth, like moonlight blooming across a calm sea. This is the river of soft light, a drifting path of stardust and color that winds through the dark like a ribbon unspooling in slow motion. It flows not with water, but with particles so fine, so delicate, that they shimmer as they move, a silent current of golden white, faded coral and faint seafoam green. The path curves gently, leading your ship onward deeper into the dream. There is no steering here, you are carried. As you watch the flow beneath and around you, it feels less like travel and more like surrender. A floating, a following, the kind of movement that has no destination, only presence. Above the river, the sky begins to ripple, not with stars but with echoes of light, subtle and soft, like the afterglow of a memory. These echoes do not cast shadows or blaze brightly. They drift, half-formed like the flicker of a dream just before waking. They are quiet, yet impossibly beautiful, hues shifting gently from one shade to the next. Apricot into lavender, silver into dusk blue. The stars beyond them remain steady, blurred slightly by the veil of color, as though seen through a curtain of soft rain. Some of these echoes seem to respond to your presence. They grow brighter when you draw near, dimmer as you move past, almost like waves nodding in recognition. Perhaps they are not reflections at all, but remnants, imprints left by other dreamers who passed this way before. There is something deeply peaceful in the idea that this river remembers every quiet traveler, every heart that wandered into its embrace and left behind only stillness and starlight. You rest your head back again, eyes softened by the glow, and feel a hush wrap around you like a woolen blanket in winter. The hum of the ship continues, low, constant, like the distant call of a seashell held to the ear. In the stillness, thoughts begin to dissolve, not into sleep just yet, but into a space between, a hush between thinking and dreaming, like the soft moment just before a yawn. The river carries you onward, its bends slow and wide, its light dancing quietly on the hull of the ship. Far ahead, in the farthest reaches of the curve, you can just begin to see a new glow rising, faint, wide, and full of promise. But for now, here in the gentle arms of the river of soft light, there is only this moment, this breath, this soft, endless drift beneath a sky painted with memories. The glow ahead grows ever so slowly, spreading its light across the horizon, like the warmth of dawn seeping through the edges of a curtain. It is not urgent, not bright, just steady, patient, and full of quiet invitation. As the ship glides forward, you begin to see its source, a vast, floating nebula shaped like a gentle spiral, its tendrils curled inward like a sleeping fern. This is the lantern cloud, named not for its brilliance, but for the way it seems to hold light, as though cradling it in cupped hands. Its colors are the tones of comfort, amber and rose, muted gold, soft plum. They swirl in thick, slow ribbons, curling and unfurling in a way that seems deliberate yet effortless. like candle smoke tracing the patterns of a dream. The outer wisps of the nebula shimmer with stardust, tiny points of light caught in constant motion. Some drift free, floating gently past your vessel, like sleepy fireflies with nowhere to be. The lantern cloud is not dense or imposing. It breathes with space, full of hollow chambers and gentle tunnels, where light pools softly, reflecting against gossamer walls of cosmic dust. Your ship drifts into one of these hollows, and you are surrounded on all sides by glowing mist. It is a slow and quiet motion, like slipping into a warm bath or drifting under a thick quilt. The sounds of the ship seem to dull, as if the very nebula is muffling everything into peace. Outside the viewing dome, pockets of color deepen, then fade. Warm bronze giving way to pale lilac, then melting into a sleepy shade of blue-gray. The sense of time fades again, that familiar quiet stretching out, soft and unbroken. You feel no need to move, no impulse to think. Just a gentle awareness of being carried, watched over, held. It's said that the lantern cloud is a place where dying stars once came to rest. Not in sorrow, but in peace. Their last breaths, their quietest pulses, still shimmer here, suspended in endless twilight. And perhaps that's why it feels so safe. Because every particle around you remembers what it means to rest. In one quiet chamber of the cloud, you see something faintly glowing, not a star, but a cluster of lights, shaped like petals, gently opening and closing. A stellar bloom. Its center pulses faintly, not with energy, but with memory. Some say these formations appear where great joy once echoed through the cosmos. Ancient celebrations held by forgotten civilizations, or the quiet reunion of long-traveled starlight. Whether true or only myth, the bloom glows with a sense of welcome. As your ship pauses beside it, you feel a subtle warmth wash through you, like the last moments before falling asleep, when the day has finally let go. The lights in the petals blink slowly, almost in rhythm with your breath. And then gently, the ship begins to move again, carrying you onward through the spiraling corridors of the lantern cloud. Behind you, the bloom folds its petals and dims, returning to its slumber. Ahead, the cloud begins to thin, the colors growing more transparent, like a painting left in soft rain. You follow the path, deeper still, carried by calm and light. The lantern cloud drifts away behind you, its glow fading into the darkness like the last warm ember of a fireplace before sleep. In its place, a vast openness emerges, not empty but open, wide, and welcoming. The space around your vessel is different now, no longer framed by swirling clouds or thick dust. Instead, you find yourself entering a region the ancients once called the Meadow of Stars. It stretches in all directions, a flat, velvet sea of space, where countless stars lie scattered like petals upon still water. These are not the blinding, fiery stars of distant galaxies. They are quieter, gentler. Some barely shimmer, their light as soft as a sigh. Others glow with the steady peace of lanterns left to float in the dark. They seem close, not in distance, but in feeling, like companions on this quiet journey, each one humming with its own soft note. Part of a song too calm to be sung, only felt. As the ship drifts forward, the stars begin to shift. Slowly, slowly, like blades of grass in a silent wind. Their patterns change, not chaotically, but with a rhythm that feels older than time. Some rise gently above, others dip below, and a few come near, passing so close to the ship you can almost feel the warmth of their ancient light. They don't burn, not here. Their glow is like candlelight, filtered through layers of dream. Some blink in gentle pulses, while others remain steady, quiet sentinels, watching over the meadow's hush. The space between them is wide and soft, filled with thin strands of silvery mist that dance in the starlight, curling and drifting without a sound. You can almost imagine laying down among them, arms outstretched, floating between the glimmers, the whole sky a blanket stitched with glows. It's easy to forget motion here. The stars move, but slowly, and so do you, together, as if the whole field is flowing in a current of calm that cannot be seen, only trusted. From deep within the meadow, a cluster of particularly quiet stars comes into view, their lights pale blue and golden cream. They are arranged in a gentle spiral, not unlike the petals of a flower just beginning to bloom. This spiral formation is known among certain dreamers and wanderers as the resting circle. It's said to be the oldest constellation in this part of the galaxy, not in years but in spirit, a place where light has agreed to linger a little longer before moving on. As your ship slows beside the circle, the stars within it seem to pulse in time with your breathing, a gentle welcome. The ship dims its interior lights, allowing the glow of the spiral to fill your view complete. It feels like the center of peace, as does everything. Your journey, the ship, the quiet, has led to this moment of stillness. You close your eyes and breathe. The stars do not flicker, they do not fade, they simply shine, steadily, softly, patient, as if keeping watch over your dream, ensuring that nothing disturbs the sleep that is slowly blooming within you. As your vessel leaves the cradle of echoes, the echoes fade. Not abruptly, but gently, like the final notes of a lullaby, trailing into the hush of sleep. The space ahead grows darker once more, but not empty. A cool indigo glow begins to rise at the edge of your vision, faint at first, like a dream just beginning to take form. Your ship follows the color, drawn slowly into its presence, until at last it opens before you, a vast, shimmering expanse known as the violet mirror. This is no ordinary nebula. It stretches wide and low, across space, like a lake of quiet light, suspended in the void. Its surface is not solid, yet it reflects everything: stars, dust, the curved hull of your ship, all mirrored in tones of soft violet, plum, and twilight blue. There is no movement here, only the quiet shimmer of reflection. The mirror does not glow with heat or fire, but with memory, a soft light that seems to rise from within, as though the nebula itself is remembering dreams. As you drift above the violet mirror, the view through your observation dome becomes almost indistinguishable from the stars themselves. Above and below, space appears the same, a perfect reflection, folding the cosmos into a still symmetry. It is easy to lose your sense of direction, yet you do not feel disoriented. You feel balanced, held in equilibrium. The stars in the mirror ripple faintly, not from disturbance, but as if responding to your presence with the gentlest of nods. You watch your own ship mirrored in the purple depths, though no engines move, and no wake is left behind. Time, too, seems to reflect, your thoughts doubling back in quiet loops, like a whispered memory playing once more. There is no beginning or end here, only the now, stretched infinitely in both directions. It's said the violet mirror can show more than reflection, that if you look long enough, you may see not just what is, but what once was, and maybe gently, what could. You gaze into the depths, and for a moment you see not just stars but something softer, the feeling of a warm voice, the memory of laughter, the echo of your own heartbeat when all else is silent. The ship slows to a pause, hovering weightless above the mirror's surface. No systems work, no alert sound. There is only the hum, and the silence, and the infinite lavender below. In this moment, even the act of breathing feels ceremonial, an offering to the peace that surrounds you. You rest your head against the seat, feeling lighter than air, and allow the colors to wash over your vision. The mirror holds no answers, and asks no questions. It simply exists, reflecting the universe in its quietest form. As you continue to float, you notice tiny threads of silver light begin to spiral within the mirror's depths. Slow, delicate tendrils, like ink in water. They do not rise, they do not fall, they dance only slightly, reminding you of forgotten wishes, or the way light scatters on a calm ocean. The ship does not stir, you do not stir. There is only the soft glow, of the violet mirror, and the serene stillness of being exactly where you are meant to be, suspended between reflections, between thoughts, between waking and dream. The violet mirror fades slowly behind you, its deep hues dissolving into the night like breath into still air. The ship begins to move once again, unhurried, guided not by coordinates but by the quiet pull of the universe's unfolding calm. Ahead, the darkness begins to brighten, not with light, but with motion. It is subtle at first, like the soft rustle of leaves in a dream, or the feeling of wind brushing across a field too vast to see. You are entering the drift of listening winds, a stretch of space known not for what can be seen, but for what can almost be heard. The stars here are fewer still, their light faint and far between. But around your ship, invisible threads begin to hum, long, slow ripples of vibration, like the strings of a harp plucked once, very softly, in a distant corner of the cosmos. You don't hear them as much as feel them, brushing past your thoughts like the ghost of a lullaby long forgotten. The drift is wide and open, like a great ocean in the middle of space, with only the barest touch of color to guide your eyes. Mist flows through the darkness here, not thick but loose and lazy, like strands of breath frozen in time. As your ship glides deeper into the region, the mist begins to react to your movement. It curls around the vessel in long flowing arcs, almost like it's listening. Every shift in your breath, every faint movement of your heart, seems to stir the winds just slightly. They respond not to sound or pressure, but to intention. They twist and spiral in soft shapes, some forming loops, others drifting into long streams that stretch far behind your wake. The wind in this part of space is silent, yet full. It carries not noise, but resonance. And in that resonance, you begin to hear things you hadn't noticed before. The echo of your own calm, the gentle murmur of stars in sleep, the rhythm of the voyage itself. The interior of the ship dims to match the quiet outside, and you are surrounded by a softness deeper than night. The winds outside seem to carry stories, not with words but with feeling. Small messages stitched into every pulse of movement, every shiver of starlit mist. You feel them pass through you, like a warmth spreading across the chest, a hush settling behind your eye. It is said that in the drift, the universe listens, not just to stars and planets, but to wanderers like you, to quiet thoughts, to whispered hopes, to dreams so soft they've never been spoken aloud. And maybe now the winds are listening to yours. As your ship floats gently forward, wrapped in silver mist and the quietest vibrations of space, your body settles into stillness once more. Thoughts grow slow, eyelids grow heavy. There is only the drift now, the long, slow dance of invisible wind, and the comforting sense that the stars are leaning in, close enough to hear you dream. The listening winds begin to thin, their gentle tendrils trailing off into the silence, as your ship glides onward, deeper into a realm where even whispers feel like echoes of echoes. The air inside your vessel is cool and soft, scented faintly by the memory of starlight and the dust of long-traveled dreams. Ahead, a glow begins to blossom once more. Pale at first, almost translucent, like the soft flush of dawn pressing gently against the edge of night. It grows not in intensity, but in presence, expanding slowly across your field of view. The ship enters what appears to be a vast, floating grove in space. The pale orchard. You've heard its name before, carried in hushed tones through stories passed between dreamers. A garden of nebulae shaped not by gravity, but by patience. What lies before you is not trees, not flowers in the traditional sense, but tall, slender towers of light, each one blooming in slow spirals of mist and color. They rise from nothing, growing upward into arcs of shimmering glow, their tips curling slightly, like petals asleep. These light forms are spread across the space like a celestial orchard, evenly spaced, quietly luminous, and completely still. Some glow with the faint green of sea glass, others in soft alabaster or the faded rose of a memory not quite recalled. They do not move, not exactly, but as your ship passes among them, the air seems to shift, as though the entire grove is breathing. One long, slow inhale stretched across the cosmos. The orchard holds a gentle geometry, its lines and paths curving with grace, inviting you to follow, not with steps, but with the motion of presence. Small sparkles flit between the towers, like drifting pollen made of starlight, slow and purposeful, twinkling only when they pass through the narrowest bands of light. And in this place, there is a warmth, not physical, but emotional, a quiet sense of being welcomed, as if these ethereal forms have been waiting patiently, keeping their soft vigil until the time was right. Until now, within the orchard, the ship slows to a dreamlike drift, as though gravity itself has softened into stillness. You lean into the view, eyes half-lidded, mind open and weightless. As the towers of light pass by, you begin to notice that some seem to resonate, very gently, like wind chimes beneath deep water. The notes are not tones, but feelings. Safety, belonging, understanding. Each one rings differently, and each seems to reflect a part of you back in calm, luminous form. You pass one that feels like joy remembered, another that echoes rest. You wonder if this is what it means to truly be seen by the stars, not for what you've done or where you've been, but simply for the way you breathe, the way you are. The orchard offers no instruction, no destination. It is not a place of questions or answers. It is a place of presence, and in its quiet glow, you are enough. No more movement is needed. No thought, just this drift, this hush, this space between heartbeats where dreams are tended and peace is planted in the fertile dark of space. The pale orchard gradually slips behind your ship, each glowing tower fading like the last traces of candlelight when morning begins to stretch across the horizon of a dream. What lies ahead is softer still, a place without edge, where even color begins to dissolve into breath. This is the haze of forgotten suns, a realm so delicate it cannot be seen until you are already within it. The change is subtle, like a deep exhale, like mist curling inward upon itself. The light here is faint and diffused, the softest silver and pale lavender, with moments of warmth drifting in and out, a faded amber glow, a sleepy rust-red blush, the lingering light of stars that once burned but no longer do. These are the suns that have gone quiet, not vanished, not lost, but resting. Their last warmth lingers in this haze, filtered and folded into a soft, shimmering fabric that stretches endlessly, like the sky in the middle of twilight. The ship slows again, not from force but from instinct, as though even it knows this place deserves reverence. Around you the haze gathers like memory. It pools against the hull, not pressing or swirling, but brushing gently, like silk through fingertips. No stars are visible here, not directly, but their presence is felt, like the way you can sense someone behind you without turning. They whisper through the haze in pulses of quiet glow, echoes of their former selves. You begin to sense them rather than see them. Some move in slow spirals, their light barely flickering, like the thought of a lullaby hummed from a great distance. Others are still, suspended in the haze like pearls caught in the drift of a forgotten ocean. The light here does not illuminate, it enfolds. It gathers around you in waves, wrapping you in warmth that feels like the past. Not your past, but something larger. The history of stars perhaps, the gentle breath of time itself, long after the fire has dimmed. The haze holds these suns tenderly, as one might hold a beloved photograph, edges worn smooth from the touch of years. You sit quietly, surrounded by this tender space, and feel your thoughts slowing into stillness once again. There is no longing here, no regret, only a sense of peaceful continuation. The understanding that even light, once it has faded, becomes part of the dream that follows. The ship rocks slightly, as if drifting on a tide made of memory. You close your eyes and feel it, the presence of all that once burned bright, now resting, without sorrow. The haze speaks not in sound but in sensation, the comfort of a familiar scent, the hush of dusk settling over a field, the slow curl of smoke rising from a candle just blown out. It does not ask you to remember, only to feel, to rest with it, to become part of the quiet. And so you do, floating within the haze of forgotten suns, suspended in the afterglow of cosmic dreams, held not by gravity but by the softness of what remains when light no longer needs to shine. As the haze of forgotten suns gently recedes, the ship continues its drift, carrying you beyond the hush of memory and into a space where time feels even more dissolved. You begin to notice the darkness ahead isn't empty, but carefully woven. Faint strands of light appear, crossing each other in delicate patterns, glowing lines, some straight and others looping in slow arcs, stretching across the void like threads pulled taut across a loom. This is the loom of silent threads, a rarely spoken realm. Hidden in the quiet folds between nebulae and collapsed stars, these luminous lines do not pulse or move. They remain suspended, stitched into the fabric of space itself, so fine and fragile they seem almost like spider silk caught in moonlight. The ship glides gently through them, careful not to disturb their stillness, and you find yourself surrounded by a web of slow grace. Every direction you look reveals more, each thread a different hue: dusty gold, soft cerulean, a blush of faded violet. They do not connect to form a net, but a tapestry, one not yet complete. It's said that each thread here is a remnant of intention, woven not by hand, but by will. A gentle echo of choices, thoughts, dreams, left behind by those who passed through long before. Some threads are long and straight, stretching across the stars like beams of silent determination. Others curve gently, soft with the tenderness of wonder. Your ship passes through them without harm, yet you sense their presence brushing against the vessel's surface, not physically, but emotionally, the way a story might touch you. A low, ambient tone begins to vibrate through the ship's walls, barely perceptible, like a single note sustained forever on the edge of hearing. The threads hum as your ship nears, responding not to sound but to awareness. Perhaps they recognize you, or perhaps they simply accept all who come with quiet hearts. You feel something unfurl inside you, not an idea, not a memory, but a feeling of connection, of being stitched gently into something older than language, softer than light. Time stretches thin in the loom, and yet it feels rich with meaning. You could remain here for moments or for years, and neither would matter. The ship floats slower now, almost still, nestled between strands that glimmer like the final frost before spring. Looking out the viewing dome, you see one thread drifting near, closer than the rest, glowing with a silvery blue light, as if aware of you. And for just a moment it seems to shimmer differently, not more brightly, but more deeply. You don't understand it, but you feel seen, as though this thread holds something of you or something waiting for you. There is no fear in that feeling, only a profound calm, the kind that wraps around your bones and lingers beneath your breath. Around you the loom remains suspended, cradling the silence, keeping the light arranged in its slow, eternal dance. And you are part of it, now, not separate, not outside, but gently woven into the dream, one silent thread among many, drifting onward through the softest dark. The loom of silent threads fades behind you as gently as it arrived, the strands growing thinner, softer, until they vanish into the deep velvet of space once more. Your ship glides onward with no sound, no hurry, only the silent consent of the cosmos guiding its path. Ahead, a faint shimmer begins to emerge. Not a cloud, not a star, but something different. It appears in layers, unfolding like pages being turned one by one. You have entered the library of dimming light, a celestial archive unlike anything known or charted, where light itself records its final thoughts before slipping quietly into rest. What surrounds you are floating structures of soft radiance, long horizontal plumes of light, stretching across space like gently opened scrolls. Each one emits a pale glow, rich with the warmth of fading gold, deep rose, and dusty violet. They drift in slow formation, stacked high and wide in a spiral that winds through the stars like a grand staircase made of dreams. Your ship drifts between these luminous scrolls, passing beneath the gentle arcs of light that curve above you. They do not speak, but their presence hums with knowledge. Not facts or data, but stories. Each ribbon of light holds memories, the last glimmer of a comet's journey, the final flicker of a dying star, the quiet departure of a moon swallowed by its planet's shadow. These are not tragedies, they are graceful endings, held in reverence. The library keeps no record of pain, only of passage. Some lights pulse faintly as you pass, acknowledging your presence, as if offering you their story in exchange for nothing at all. Others remain still, quiet, content simply to be observed. Your ship slows to a stop beside one particularly long band of light, shimmering faintly in tones of copper and silver. As you gaze into it, you feel an emotion unfold, calm, then curiosity, then a quiet sort of joy, like finding a familiar voice in the dark. You do not need to read it, you feel it, and somehow that is enough. Within the hush of the library, everything feels suspended, not frozen, but resting. Even your breath seems to soften, each inhale slower, deeper. Every exhale like a whispered thank you to the universe. The light from the scrolls casts long, gentle glows across the ship's interior, painting the walls with slow-moving patterns. You sit quietly, watching them drift by like leaves in a breeze you can't feel. It is not a place that invites movement. It asks only presence. And in that stillness, you sense a soft awareness. Not yours, not the ship's, but the library's, as if it remembers every traveler who has passed through, every silent witness to the beauty of gentle endings. The library does not ask for memories, it gathers only what you are ready to let go of. And in that giving, you find a little more space inside you, a little more quiet, a little more peace. Wrapped in that glow, carried by stillness, you drift once more, deeper now, not away from the light, but into beyond the library of dimming light, where the last delicate scrolls of starlit memory curl in quiet suspension. Space begins to deepen in a way you've not yet felt. Not darkening, but thickening. A hush expands ahead of your vessel, vast, round, and timeless. Not the absence of sound, but the presence of something ancient and listening. The stars withdraw gently, as though stepping aside, revealing a realm spoken of only in the language of poets and dream mappers. The sea of folded time. You do not so much enter it as dissolve into it. Like a breath into twilight, the ship slows. The air stills. Even your thoughts feel padded now, as though wrapped in soft cloth, turning over not in haste, but with care, one at a time. The entrance is seamless. There are no gates, no transitions, only a soft awareness that everything has begun to move differently. The space outside your viewing dome becomes layered in slow, translucent waves, each folding over the next, like fine linen stirred by windless air. They shimmer faintly, not with color, but with memory. Dim bronze, pale rose, worn silver. These are not the bold hues of nebulae or stars. They are the palette of reflection, of thought and time stretched thin across infinity. Some waves drift upward, curling gently like the edge of parchment. Others stretch down into depths you cannot measure. The effect is not disorienting, it is soothing. Your eyes follow their arcs without resistance, and your mind begins to quiet, lulled by the patient spirals of the sea. The sea of folded time is not just still, it is reflective in the most literal and intimate of ways. As your vessel drifts further inward, Soft flickers begin to appear within the folds. At first they seem like distant pulses, echoes of faraway stars. But then, you begin to notice familiar shapes, the trace of your own ship's path, looping softly behind you. And then, perhaps a flicker of your own form, seated as you are, viewed from a different moment. Not a copy, not a ghost, but a memory, somehow returned to you in stillness. These are not illusions, they are impressions left gently in the folds of time itself, as though the sea records the shape of quiet travelers, not through technology, but by simply holding space for them. A record without ink, a memory made of light and time. Here does not tick, it breathes, it exhales in long pauses, then waits, as though deciding whether to move at all. The ship's own instruments have dimmed, not malfunctioned, simply gone still as if respecting the hush. Lights remain on, soft and ambient, but no data flows, no alerts blink. In the sea, even machines remember how to be quiet, and you feel the weight of all the moments that led you here, gently pressing into your awareness like waves against a sleeping shore. Nothing demands attention. Nothing cries for urgency. It is the most profound calm you have ever known. Eventually, as your ship glides over one slow crest of the sea, you see it, the Tide Keeper. It rises from the center of this realm like a great pearl suspended in gravityless stillness, a luminous sphere, vast and serene. Its light does not beam outward. It rests in itself, patient and whole. Its glow is layered in soft gradients of burnished gold and ash violet, like a sun that chose to dim itself into reflection. Circling the Tide Keeper are thin bands of drifting particles, slow and circular, orbiting not with purpose, but in reverence. There is no core to be seen, no solid surface. It is light wrapped around itself, like a memory dreaming of its beginning. As your ship approaches, it slows to a complete stop, not with a jolt, but with a breath. The Tide Keeper does not react, it simply allows. In its presence, you feel the peculiar sensation of time resting around you like a cocoon. You look out and see nothing moving, and yet everything is alive. The light curls around the Tide Keeper in soft loops. The waves of the sea ripple in perfect balance, and within your own body, something ancient responds. A slowness, a steadiness, a peace that goes beyond stillness. This is not just a place, it is a moment suspended, given shape. They say the Tide Keeper was not created. It emerged, born when 1,000 stars ended in the same breath, their final pulses folding over each other in perfect harmony. Others say it is not an object at all, but a wound in time that healed so perfectly it became beautiful. And perhaps here, both are true. You feel its presence, not in sound or force, but in silence. Silence so complete it becomes its own language. It says, "Be still, you are held, you are remembered." Your ship remains still beside the Tide Keeper for an unknowable stretch of time. You may have closed your eye, you may have drifted into a waking dream. Around you, time folds like paper, soft creases in the fabric of your experience. Past and future blur at the edges, leaving only this luminous now. You feel echoes of yourself, not just your physical form, but your joys, your hopes, the quiet wishes you've made in the dark. They rise here like sparks caught in candlelight, not to be judged, but simply to be seen. Eventually, the Tide Keeper begins to dim, not disappearing but withdrawing, like a sigh returning to silence. Its glow softens, until it blends into the folds of the sea, becoming one with the waves. The ship, without prompt or noise, begins to move again. Slowly, softly. You do not look back. You do not need to. The Tide Keeper, and all that it held, remains with you now, not as memory, but as presence. As the folds of time open gently before you, making way for the next stretch of your journey, you feel a warmth resting in your chest. Not fire, not urgency, just light, quiet and sure. And behind you, the sea of folded time ripples one last time, a slow, deep movement, as if nodding in acknowledgement that you came, that you saw, that you stayed. As the sea of folded time releases your vessel from its gentle hold, the silence you carry lingers, not as an absence, but as a living stillness that hums softly within you, like the last note of a song still echoing in the hollows of the heart. The ship resumes its slow and silent drift, gliding beyond the folds, leaving behind the suspended glow of the tidekeeper. The stars reappear here and there, faint and unhurried, scattered across a sky that seems deeper than before, more aware. The path ahead narrows, though not by walls, by atmosphere. The air changes once again, the darkness deepening into cool, iridescent shades. You are entering a place known quietly among dream cartographers as the ice resonance, or more poetically, the chimes beneath the ice. The first sign is the light, distant, shimmering blue that grows richer and more saturated with every quiet breath. It does not shine but spreads, slow waves of sapphire, aquamarine, and pale turquoise, rolling across the edges of space like frost blooming over glass. These waves aren't solid. They're part mist, part sound, and part something unnamed. As the ship presses further into this region, you begin to hear it. The chimes, not bells, not tones in the usual sense, but crystalline threads of resonance that vibrate delicately through the hull, like the shimmering trails left behind by shooting stars passing through a sleeping sky. They do not start or stop. They are simply always there, waiting for the right kind of silence to make themselves known. The deeper you drift, the more the chimes begin to bloom, soft, layered harmonics rising and falling in waves, each note gentle, spaced far apart, never crowding the stillness. Your ship floats beneath vast arcs of translucent ice, immense, slow rotating structures that stretch out in graceful spirals, like frozen galaxies. These aren't cold in the usual sense. They're made not of water or ice as you know it, but frozen light and memory, thin sheets of iridescence, turning slowly in the silent dark. Each rotation creates a vibration, and each vibration creates a chime, and the music of this place unfolds in infinite slowness. The sound is not sharp, it is round and soft, like the sound of snow falling in an empty forest. It enters not through your ears, but through your breath, your bones, the hush inside your thoughts. You pass beneath one of the largest of these ice rings, and the vibration deep. It's a bass note made of stillness itself, low, humming, comforting. The interior of the ship dims to match the outside light, bathed now in bluish tones that move like moonlight over frozen lakes. For a while there are no stars, no destination, only the music, only the motionless turning of vast ice forms. It's said that this part of space formed where ancient waves of stellar wind collided with the remnants of a dying aurora, a place so gentle in its formation that it could only birth silence and sound together, one wrapped around the other like a lullaby inside a snowflake. Your ship, small as it is against the grandeur of this frozen realm, seems to understand its role here, not to explore, not to disturb, but to witness. It slows, almost coming to rest beneath a hanging sheet of translucent resonance ice. You gaze upward. Tiny particles of light drift within the structure, caught like dust in the quiet spin of a dream. As it rotates, you hear a soft trill, a cascade of crystalline notes that fall like tears in reverse. The notes aren't sad, they're thoughtful. They shimmer with stillness, with memory, with time that has no urgency. And then you notice something remarkable. The chimes begin to harmonize, not randomly, but gently weaving themselves around your breath, your heartbeat. Each inhale seems to draw out a soft note. Each exhale is followed by a silence shaped just for it. The space knows you are here, and it makes room. It sings around you, not to you, and that distinction feels like love. You do not need to respond. You do not need to name. You are only here to drift, to listen, to rest beneath the frozen rings of a music that has never been written, only felt. Drifting further, you pass a formation unlike the others, a spiral loop of frozen resonance, smaller and turning faster, singing in high, delicate tones like thin glass humming in wind. The ship draws close. Within the spiral, Light concentrates into a central knot of glow, a tiny heart, pulsing faintly with silver light. This is a resonance bloom, a natural culmination of every song the ice has ever sung, and somehow you feel it vibrate in your chest, not strongly, but deeply. It feels like hearing your name in a dream. It's not calling you, it's acknowledging you. You watch as the bloom shivers gently, sending out one long, slow ring of sound that glides across the region like a ripple across still water. It passes through your ship and continues on, brushing through other arcs of frozen resonance. And as it moves, it gently activates new tones, soft, staggered harmonies that light up the darkness like a caroline made of stars. You listen, eyes closed, breath slow. The sound goes on, never growing louder, never fading completely, just being. Time folds again. How long have you floated here? Minutes? Hours? Does it matter? The cold in this place is not biting. It is comforting, the kind of cold that invites rest, that stills the body without fear, that lulls the mind into silence. Your thoughts slow, then they pause. The ship does not move, and neither do you. You become in this moment, one more shape within the chime, a note, a hush, a silence folded into crystal light. When the ship does eventually begin to drift again, it does so without a sound. The chimes do not stop, they only grow softer, as though continuing their endless lullaby for the next traveler. The ice rings spin behind you, fading into the dark, the tones growing quieter, but never vanish. You carry their memory now, nestled inside you like a song you were never taught but somehow always knew. And ahead, something new begins to glow, the faintest orange light, warm and low, like the first flicker of fire in a distant hearth. The chimes of the frozen realm hum behind you still, their fading tones a kind of cosmic goodbye. Not final, just softly parted from. Your ship glides forward, with reverence. Warmed now by something new, the cold blues and crystalline silvers of the ice resonance begin to dissolve into amber and faint terracotta. Hues like those that might flicker against stone walls at twilight. The faint orange glow seen earlier now swells, filling the corridor of space before you with its welcoming light. It does not blaze. It does not blind. It breathes, steady and slow, like the glowing embers of a fire kept alive for centuries. You are approaching what few have named and even fewer have seen. This is the hearth of silent fire. It does not appear all at once. It reveals itself in layers, unfolding in widening rings of warmth and glow. At the center of this region floats a small, luminous core. Not a star, not a planet, but something gentler. It turns ever so slowly, emitting a soft radiance the color of burnt honey in deep candlelight. Around it swirl hundreds of glowing motes, like fireflies caught in the hush of deep evening. They drift in slow spirals, never colliding, each one pulsing with its own soft rhythm. Some fade for a moment, then reappear. Others flicker steadily like a steady heartbeat in space. The effect is not dazzling. It is soothing, calming, a cosmic hearth fire, tended not by hands but by the breath of space itself. The hearth is surrounded by layers of gas and dust, but they are unlike any nebula you've passed before. These layers do not twist or stretch. They curl inward, like a shawl pulled close. Amber and deep peach swirl together with chestnut browns and shadowed rust, creating a cocoon of color and warmth that feels more like memory than matter. Within this cocoon, the ship begins to slow again, dipping gently into orbit around the fire. You can feel the temperature shift, not through heat, but through presence. A deep comfort in your bones, like the feeling of sitting near a flame after walking through long night. Outside your window, the motes of light move closer. One floats directly beside the hull, its glow delicate and pulsing. You lean in to see it more clearly, and something remarkable happens. For the briefest moment, as the mote's glow aligns with your gaze, you feel a memory not your own. A warm kitchen, a cup held in two hands, the sound of a story being told in a low, familiar voice. The memory fades almost immediately, but its warmth lingers, curling inside your chest like the last line of a lullaby. The moat drifts on, another takes its place. Each one brings with it a brief flicker, not a thought, but a feeling. The hearth of silent fire is not just a place, it is a keeper of rest, of softness, of all the quiet, safe places scattered across time. The ship, sensing the stillness, powers down its engines completely. Only the life support hum remains, faint, content, like the sound of a cat purring in a distant room. You are encouraged not to move, to simply be. The silence is rich here, like soil full of things growing slowly beneath its surface. You feel it in your limbs, in your breath, in the quiet echo that fills the spaces between heartbeats. Everything here speaks in warmth, in pulse, in the color of fire remembered but not burning. It's said the hearth formed where a collapsed star gently reignited, not in fire or fury but in stillness. Instead of collapsing completely, it softened, condensed into this glowing ember that never dims, never grows, only endures. Floating around the central flame are larger structures, clusters of soft ember-like clouds, forming what look like resting places. One drifts close, your ship follows its pull and eases beside it. There, cradled in the cloud's light, is an open chamber, not mechanical, but organic in shape, like a hollow formed from woven warmth. Within it, glowing stones float gently, casting soft radiance in every direction. The walls shimmer with patterns that shift in time with your breath. This is a resting cell, formed naturally from the hearth's own emissions. It waits for no one, but welcomes all. Your vessel opens its forward window wide, and for a moment all light pours through, soft firelight dancing across the ship's interior, reflecting against the walls, warming everything it touches. You settle deeper into your seat, the weight of wakefulness gently loosening its grip. The stars outside no longer shimmer cold and distant. They glow like candles lit by someone you trust. Each mote that floats past the window seems to carry a message. You are safe. You are known. You may rest. And in the glow of the hearth, time doesn't pass. It curls up beside you, resting its head on folded arms, waiting patiently. The ship rocks ever so slightly, as though you are being rocked in the arms of the cosmos. You begin to notice something new within the warmth. A pattern, a rhythm. It's not sound, it's not movement, it's something more delicate, like the trace left by breath on glass. The hearth pulses not just with heat and light, but with cycles, with dream. You feel them, faint and ancient, flowing through the surrounding fireflies of memory. The dreams of long-forgotten civilizations, of travelers who came before, of quiet moments so still they were never spoken aloud. Now they live here, wrapped in the slow, glowing embrace of the heart. Not trapped, not preserved, simply remembered. You realize then that this place is not a shelter from the universe. It is the universe condensed into kindness. And as you close your eyes for just a moment, a vision forms, not in sharp detail, but in feeling. You see yourself not as a passenger, not as a voyager, but as part of the warmth itself. A single mote of light, drifting, observing, resting. You belong to this stillness now, not as something claimed, but as something welcomed. The hearth accepts without asking. It gives without requiring. It is the gentle pulse that holds the cosmos together in its quietest hours. And for as long as you remain here, you are more than a traveler. You are home. When the time comes, and it always arrives softly, your ship begins to stir again. Lights brighten slightly. Systems hum with gentle intention. The vessel lifts from the resting cell and begins to drift outward, carrying the warmth with it. Like a flicker held safely in the palm, the hearth does not grow distant. It remains, shining like the memory of warmth in a long winter. You will carry it with you, tucked somewhere in the quiet folds of your thoughts, glowing softly when you need it most. And as your journey continues, a new light appears in the far distance, not warm, not cold, but crystalline, shimmering with 1,000 soft colors that shift like reflections on still water. The warmth of the hearth glows within you long after it has vanished from view, not as heat, but as memory, like the sensation of sun on skin long after the sun has set. The ship, now fully adrift once more, hums softly with gentle life, as though it too has rested well and is ready for whatever quiet wonder lies ahead. The stars return in scattered clusters, blinking softly in the endless velvet of space. And then ahead, the shimmering light you glimpsed before grows clearer. Not a singular glow, but a constellation of glimmers shifting and changing like sunlight through water. You are approaching what dream mappers call the prism garden. It reveals itself slowly, not in shape, but in atmosphere. The surrounding space begins to shift from black to opalescent hues, the darkness turning pearlescent with iridescence. Soft lavender, sea glass green, faint blush, and silvery blue, all flickering just beneath the surface. The ship glides through the boundary and you cross an invisible threshold into something otherworldly. The stars above and below refract and multiply, their reflections dancing in infinite patterns across the ship's window. You blink, and the shapes twist, not chaotically but like petals turning to follow light. These are not illusions, but structures, vast crystalline formations suspended in the dark, slowly rotating and glinting in every direction. The prism garden is not made of flowers, but of radiant towers, translucent arches, and delicate spires of light-born crystal, each one resonating with a color the way a bell resonates with a tone. As you draw deeper into the garden, the light around you bends and folds with the elegance of silk. Nothing here is static. Every beam, every flicker seems to respond to movement, not just yours, but that of distant stars, slow currents of interstellar wind, and the ancient pulse of the galaxy itself. The prisms themselves stretch wide and tall, some floating freely, others locked in gentle spirals around unseen centers. They are made not of stone or ice, but condensed radiance, layers of light folded so many times they've become tangible. As the ship passes beneath a delicate bridge of crystal lattice, the entire structure blooms with color, a ripple of soft golds and rose hues that shimmer like the inside of a seashell. The ship's instruments remain passive, their soft lights flickering like fireflies. There is no need to steer. The prism garden seems to know where to guide you, folding light to make a path. The floor of this space, if it could be called that, is a wide plain of drifting particles, like stardust caught in slow suspension, glowing with hints of pink and azure. Your ship floats above this ground, casting a pale shadow that never stays in one place for long. Occasionally, a spiral of crystal will slowly rotate nearby, catching the light in just the right way to send a gentle spectrum of color spilling into the interior of the ship. These are not rainbow flashes, not intense or bright. They are soft gradients, like the shifting colors beneath closed eyelids when one is just beginning to dream. You begin to notice the way the prisms interact with sound, not in loud tones but subtle harmonics that tingle at the edge of awareness. A crystal spire might hum faintly as you pass, its pitch altering in harmony with the ship's energy. The sound is almost imperceptible, but comforting, like the rustle of wind through tall grass or the brushing of fingertips across glass. Some believe these sounds are the garden's way of acknowledging presence, not communication in the traditional sense, but a kind of musical welcome. The garden has no central structure. It does not spiral around a core. It floats freely, endless in its spread, yet gentle in every motion, like coral blooming in the dark tide of space. One particularly tall prism glows with a steady opal light, pulsing slowly, like a lighthouse in a dream. The ship coasts closer, drawn not by command, but by the quiet curiosity that lives in every corner of this place. The prism stands like a cathedral window suspended in air, its edges trailing into faint wisps of violet light. As your vessel nears, the light inside the structure shapes emerge, soft flowing forms that resemble petals, wings, or perhaps even memories made visible. You feel something stir within you, as though a part of your own story has just been gently nudged, not a memory returned, a recognition of peace, of possibility, of beauty you have known but never named. The ship pauses, hovering beside the great prism. No alarms sound, no systems buzz. You simply wait, surrounded by luminous silence. The prism slowly turns, revealing other sides, each one different. One side reflects galaxies like pools of water. Another side glows faintly with images of misty landscapes, none of them familiar, yet all of them comforting in a way you cannot explain. They are dreams, perhaps, not yours alone, but the universe. The garden is not just a place of light, but a place of reflection. It shows what rests within, softly mirrored back in fragments of color and form. You take a deep breath. The light seems to shift in time with you, and then gently the ship begins to move again. Ahead, the crystals part, not by force, but with invitation. They drift aside, allowing your path to continue. One final formation rises into view, a ring of hovering prisms, each turning slowly in opposite direction. They are smaller, more delicate, and at their center glows a perfectly still orb of white gold light. As you pass through the ring, the prisms chime once, soft and pure, a final note of welcome, a benediction perhaps. Then the ship slips beyond them, and the garden begins to fade behind you. The refracted light, folding itself gently back into the darkness. As you look back one last time, you feel a softness in your chest. Not nostalgia, but gratitude. The kind that arises from beauty witnessed in silence. The kind that needs no explanation, no capture, just memory. And now, ahead, a new presence begins to reveal itself. A wide, glowing field of stars, arranged so densely they appear as one great bloom of light, not harsh, not blinding, but bright in the gentlest possible way, as though the stars themselves are drawing together for a quiet purpose. The prism garden fades behind you, like the final chord of a lullaby, its soft colors dissolving back into the black velvet of space, leaving you in a hush, deeper than silence. The ship, as if sensing your thoughts, adjusts its rhythm to match the slow exhale of your breath. You drift forward into open space once more, where the stars gather in greater numbers, closer together now, not crowded, but woven. At first they appear as points of light, like any other scattered across the sky in the familiar patterns of infinity. But as your ship approaches, you begin to see them for what they are. A formation, vast and blooming, spread out across light years in the shape of something ancient and soft. A flower, infinite in petal, infinite in peace. This is the gathering bloom. You've heard whispers of this place. Some say it's a natural convergence of stars born from the same ancient cluster. Others say it's something older still, something woven not just by gravity, but by intention. A bloom of light, arranged by the universe itself, as if to remember beauty in its purest, most resting form. The stars here do not blaze. They shimmer with quiet dignity, each one a slow pulse of warmth, like tiny heartbeats glowing against the endless dark. They are not uniform. Some flicker gold, others glow pale rose, icy blue, or warm ivory, but together they pulse in harmony, like the petals of a flower breathing beneath the hush of snowfall. The ship glides gently into the center of the bloom, its path curling ever so slightly to trace the spiral at the heart of the formation. The stars here do not remain still. They drift slowly, orbiting an unseen center, moving with such grace that the entire sky appears to breathe. This is not rotation as you've known it. This is cosmic choreography, a dance that takes place over millennia, too slow to be seen but not too slow to be felt. The entire space pulses with rhythm. Not music, not sound, but presence. A kind of lullaby without melody, sung in the language of distance and light. You begin to feel the bloom moving through you, its timing matching something deep inside your bones. You pass near a pair of twin stars that orbit one another at the edge of a petal. They glow a soft periwinkle and pale gold, their light brushing gently across your ship's hull. Between them floats a translucent wisp of gas, a nebular thread, light as breath, forming a bridge that glows faintly with every pulse of their orbit. The light bends as it touches your viewing dome, and for a moment, the entire interior of the ship is awash in soft, spinning color. Not bright, but immersive, like drifting through silk painted with sunlight. You feel yourself drifting with it, not physically, but emotionally. The stars are not only around you, they are with you. Your breath slows, your muscles ease, thought softens. Within the heart of the gathering bloom lies a structure of light, unlike any other. Not built, not artificial, but formed naturally from the slow pull of time and motion. It is a spiral vast and luminous, its arms curving inward in layers of deep amethyst, quiet silver and pearl gray. This is known among voyagers as the quiet spiral, the heart of the bloom, where light moves not to shine but to create. The ship begins to descend into the spiral's open arms, drifting lower into the gravity well at its center. But here, gravity is soft. It holds, it doesn't pull. You are cradled, not captured. A sanctuary made not from walls or matter, but from patience and light. Inside the quiet spiral, motion almost ceases. The stars closest to the center appear as halos, pale circles of slow burning fire, rotating like lanterns suspended in the evening air. Between them, vast open spaces stretch, wide corridors of starlit dark, where nothing interrupts the stillness. You float through them, a guest in the garden's innermost chamber, and here the color shifts once more. The light turns from bright tones to deeper ones, wine red, antique gold, dusky lavender, the colors of dreams nearing the end of their arc, of fire dimming gently into coal. These hues settle over your ship like nightfall, soothing, unhurried. At the spiral's heart lies a single brilliant star, not the brightest, not the largest, but the calmest. It pulses every few moments with a glow that sends soft waves of golden radiance through the space around it, like a heartbeat felt across light years. It is said this star was the last born of its cluster, the final bloom in a long lineage of fire, and when it arrived, the others slowed to surround it, as petals do a center. And now that light shines not to dominate, but to harmonize. A central pulse, a soft call to stillness, a beacon of shared breath. You close your eyes. The ship does not need you to see. It moves slowly in a circle, tracing the spiral, then resting near the central star's glow. And for a long while, perhaps an hour, perhaps a second, there is only that light, that rhythm, that peace. You drift inside a space where time is decoration, where light speaks without words, where the universe reveals its desire not only to expand and create, but to The gathering bloom is not merely a formation, it is a message, that in all this endless reaching, in all the distances between stars, there is beauty in stillness, there is meaning in pause, there is life in the gentle unfolding of a spiral that leads inward instead of outward. The stars here do not race toward explosion, they slow, they lean into one another, they choose rest, and as your ship turns outward once more, preparing to leave the quiet spiral behind, you carry that understanding with you, not as knowledge, but as feeling. As warmth gathered deep in the spaces between your thoughts, the bloom grows smaller behind you, but not fainter. Its memory lights your path forward, glowing in the quiet of your chest, guiding you to what waits ahead. And from the far reaches of space, barely visible beyond the bloom's petals, a pale, glowing fog begins to stretch across the dark, wide, diffuse and shimmering softly with every shade of dawn and dusk. The ship tilts toward it, ready to carry you into its slow embrace. The gathering bloom fades behind you as the ship coasts onward, its spiraled constellation of soft stars gently withdrawing like petals folding closed at dusk. You feel its memory settle into your breath. A calm you didn't know you carried, now resting quietly within you, like a small flame protected from wind. The stars ahead grow hazy as if observed through a curtain. Their edges blur and soften, their light bending into streaks of color, stretched not by speed, but by some ambient veil hanging across the path. This veil is not made of dust or mist in any ordinary sense. It is finer than vapor, lighter than air. It is called the veil of painted stillness. And to enter it is to pass into a place where the universe becomes not only a space but a canvas. At first, the veil glimmers only slightly. Soft halos of pink and gold gliding across the ship's curved window. But as your vessel draws nearer, the light deepens, and you begin to see the patterns taking shape. Long brushstrokes of shifting hue stretch across the starscape, broad and patient. They do not move quickly. They ripple like fabric stirred by breath. Entire ribbons of space shimmer with tone. Pale coral, pearlescent jade, dusty plum. All slow-moving, all breathing in rhythm, with something too large to name. The ship does not resist. It floats inward, weightless in will and in motion, entering the heart of the painted sky. Inside the veil, distance becomes meaningless. The colors around you do not describe space. They are space. There is no clear separation between here and there. All is fluid, folded like watercolor on paper. The stars stretch long, drawn out into thin lines that move softly past your window like whispers. You are not lost, because there is nowhere to be. The veil does not disorient. It releases. Around the ship, gentle hues drift like the slow bloom of twilight. Every color part of a story too quiet for language. This is not a place of maps or motion. It is a gallery, or perhaps a dream, painted not in lines, but in stillness. The ship drifts beside what appears to be a massive arc of color, a bridge of light that extends endlessly above and below. It curves in waves, and its surface glows with hundreds of soft swirls, like ink suspended in water. These are not random shapes. They pulse slowly, forming patterns that echo the spiral of a galaxy or the curl of smoke. They remind you of movement, paused at the peak of grace, a dancer holding their breath, a drop of water suspended mid-fall. You realize that in this veil, time itself has become a brush. The past lingers, the future hesitates, and the present stretches itself wide, painting the in-between with color. Your ship passes beneath the arc, and the view changes. Light refracts across your field of vision, casting soft waves of color that flow across the walls of your cabin like shadows moving through stained glass. The hues aren't merely seen, they're felt. Each color carries an emotion. Deep blue hums like the first note of a cello, while golden amber pulses like a remembered touch. Somewhere, a lavender mist wraps the ship in the memory of sleep. The sensations rise and fade not with thought but with nearness, as though the veil paints your feelings as much as it paints the stars. Somewhere deeper in the veil, the ship finds itself drifting near a structure, not constructed, but formed from intersecting sheets of colored light. It floats in stillness, shaped like a spiral shell, every ridge glowing faintly in gradients of copper, emerald and dusk violet. This is a moment nest, a rare phenomenon in regions like the, formed by intersecting pulses of cosmic energy. They're places where light has folded so many times that it holds a single moment indefinitely. No motion, no change, just a scene, preserved in luminous quiet. The ship halts nearby, allowing you to see inside. Within the heart of the nest, a field of stars is frozen in reflection across a pool of radiant light. Their arrangement is delicate, a curve of perfect asymmetry. This is not chance. The veil has caught a moment of immense stillness, and chosen to keep it, not as a treasure, but as an offering. You gaze into it, and feel your own thoughts slow to match the rhythm. The stillness around you becomes mirrored within you. Even your breath feels like part of the painting now. Another gentle brushstroke laid upon the air. Time does not pass in the usual sense. It unfurls, it stretches. You feel the movement of minutes not in ticks or measures but in color. Pale pinks soften into pearl white. Indigo melts into moonlit gray. Hours perhaps move like seasons here, slow, tender and full of breath. There are no alerts from the ship, No interruptions, only the hush of presence. You lean back, eyes half closed, and allow the veil to wrap around your thoughts like silk drawn across warm skin. And slowly, through the painted quiet, you begin to hear a tone. One tone, low, clear, perfectly still. It doesn't rise or fall. It doesn't grow louder. It simply exists. A note played by no instrument, heard by no ear, but felt deeply, like the truth of something you've always known. It resonates through the hull of the ship, through your breath, through the soft spaces between memories. It is the sound of color, of light remembering how to sing, and it remains with you, humming gently beneath all other thoughts. Eventually, as all painted scenes do, the veil begins to change. The colors soften once more, pulling apart into thinner strands, fading into the edges of what looks like sky. The ship begins to move again, as if gently lifted by the brush itself and carried forward. The veil does not close behind you. It remains open, rippling faintly, the final strokes of its palette dancing behind the ship in a trail of faint luminescence. And ahead, a new glow rises, a dim, silver sheen, a curve of soft light against a starless backdrop, something vast and round and completely still. You are approaching the edge of the lunar mirror sea, a cosmic lake of glass and stardust that reflects the face of the galaxy itself. The final ribbons of color from the veil of painted stillness fade behind you like the trailing hem of a dream, gently folding into memory. Ahead, space opens once again, wide, quiet, unburdened by stars or sound. It stretches out like a breath held just beneath sleep, full of calm and anticipation. Your ship glides with reverent silence into this open corridor of night, and soon the darkness begins to change. It is not deeper, not darker, but smoother, as though the velvet of space has been polished into something more still. What you are approaching now is not a void. It is a surface, a mirror, and it curves upward into infinite. This is the lunar mirror sea, a celestial plane so still, so flawlessly reflective. It has been mistaken for the end of the universe in surfs, but it is no end. It is a place of pure echo, where the light of stars is folded backward, where the galaxy leans over its own reflection and dream. As your ship descends toward it, you begin to see the reflections taking shape. The Milky Way itself, curled across the horizon like a silver river. Constellations shine not only above, but below. Your ship drifts through space, perfectly mirrored beneath, in a ghostly twin that matches every movement. It is as though you are flying between two skies, one above, one beneath, both soft, both infinite. The surface of the sea is not water. It is composed of ultra-fine cosmic dust layered across a vast gravitational basin. Its particles so delicate and uniform they reflect light without scattering. There is no wind, no ripple. Even the ship's passing causes no disturbance. It is like gliding over still air. Looking down through the viewing window, you see not just stars but yourself, not your face, but your presence, as if the mirror beneath senses not your form, but your breath, your thoughts, the quiet rhythm of your being. The longer you gaze into it, the more you feel yourself mirrored back. Not perfectly, but softly, gently, like a portrait painted with fingertips. Your vessel slows, not by necessity, but by instinct. The ship knows this is not a place to rush through. It hovers just above the sea, casting a pale reflection beneath it. A twin of shape and light suspended on a surface that doesn't move. You feel the difference immediately. The silence here is profound, not because it lacks sound, but because it listens. Every heartbeat echoes inward. Every blink is returned in light. You are not observed, yet you are deeply seen. The sea does not speak, it reflects, and that reflection is more intimate than any word. You begin to notice shapes forming beneath the mirror. At first, they are only impressions, hints of structure, soft edges, gentle folds, but slowly, as the ship drifts over a particularly still patch, you see something vast beneath the surface. Towers of soft starlight, ridges of nebula-shaped arcs. They are not real. Not exactly. They are memories of shape, reflected from long ago. The sea does not mirror only the present. It remembers light from other times, and in its depths those memories still shimmer. You are flying over the echoes of moments, of distant galaxies once seen, of ships long past, of celestial forms that no longer remain except in this quiet memory of glow. There is no horizon here. The sea curves gently upward in every direction. You are not floating on a flat plane, but at the heart of a sphere of reflection. The sky above repeats below, and you are cradled in the middle. Not suspended, but held. It feels less like motion, more like drifting in place while the universe reassembles itself around you. Occasionally, a single flash of light darts across the mirror. A shooting star mirrored perfectly from above. It glides both ways at once, upward and downward, forward and behind. In the mirror sea, direction loses meaning. There is only present. Your ship reaches a point of pause, a moment predetermined by nothing but the rhythm of the journey itself. Beneath you lies a wide spiral of light, spinning slowly in the surface below. It has no source above, no obvious reflection. It simply glows, pale silver, soft lilac, blue brushed with pearl. This is a lunar bloom, a rare formation of gravitational interference within the dust-layered sea that creates a persistent, living swirl of light. It is not dangerous, it is not rare, but it is sacred in the way silence is sacred. Travelers before you have seen it, and most say nothing afterward, not from secrecy, but because words are too small for its peace. You watch the spiral turn for what feels like hours. Your ship floats above it, mirroring its rhythm. Slowly, slowly, the lights cast upward onto the walls of your cabin, swirling in gentle cycles across your skin, the ceiling, the console. You do not think here. Thought falls away like loose fabric. There is no need to understand. The sea asks nothing of you but stillness. You lean back, eyes soft, and feel your entire self fall into alignment with the pace of the spiral. It spins without urgency, without purpose, without end. A single gesture of the cosmos, looping back on itself in eternal rest. And just as the ship begins to drift again, as the spiral begins to slide from beneath, you see something new. A line of light on the horizon, not bright, not sharp, but rising, curving. It is not a planet, it is not a star, it is the Earthrise, a reflection of your own world, rising slowly in the mirror sea. Though Earth is far, far away, the sea holds its memory. You see the curve of blue, the faint shimmer of white clouds wrapped around it, the gentle light of oceans cast in silver. It is not perfect, not current, but it is enough. And for a long moment, you simply watch your home rise again, not as destination, but as part of the dream. It glows, distant and quiet, as the sea begins to shift. A current, soft and unseen, carries the ship forward. The horizon curves again, and slowly, the stars stretch into longer bands. The mirror sea begins to thin, its glass-like texture fading into streams of light that drift like ribbons toward the next region of space. You feel the seas parting like a breath, not goodbye, not ending, just the next pause between beats. And far ahead, where light begins to hum, a soundless wave of color starts to rise. Not stars, not gas, but frequency, visible, tangible, like the sound of the universe made into glow. You are nearing the light fields, where the music of the cosmos becomes something you can finally feel. The lunar mirror sea recedes behind your vessel like a long, slow exhale, its stillness lingering in the soft silence that surrounds you, its memory glowing faintly in your chest. Though the sea is no longer beneath you, you carry its reflection with you now. A calm that settles into the deepest folds of thought. A quiet that hums like warmth in winter. Ahead, the stars appear to pulse in rhythm, not with your movement, but with something deeper, older. Their arrangement is less like a scatter and more like a sequence, each point of light aligned in ways that feel intentional, even musical. And then, through the dark, color begins to shimmer. Not a glow, not a beam, but a vibration. Space itself begins to ripple. You are entering the sonolite fields, an expanse of cosmic resonance where light and sound merge into something entirely new. You do not hear it at first. You see it. Threads of light begin to weave across the blackness of space like cords in a loom, glowing softly in tones that don't remain fixed. They pulse with color, soft oranges that swell into blue, green fading into pale magenta, violet streaking into a breath of white. Each shift carries a vibration, not enough to shake the ship, but just enough to be felt. You begin to sense that space is singing here, not in notes but in light made audible. Frequencies so delicate, they vibrate in the soul before the ear. Your ship adjusts its course automatically, coasting into one of the wide harmonic lanes that flow like rivers through this region. Around you, trails of shimmering color extend in every direction, curling through the stars like melodic paths. You glide alongside one, a soft stream of gold that undulates as though responding to an invisible bow drawn slowly across the strings of the universe. The light bends and shifts, and with each pulse, a tone rises. Not loud, not high, but clear. It doesn't interrupt your thoughts, it joins them. You close your eyes and the sound remains, a soft resonance that hums just behind your breath, like a chord held gently beneath a lullaby. As your ship drifts deeper, the surrounding light thickens into luminous filaments, wide ribbons of glow that cross above and below like woven silk. These are not fixed objects, they sway slowly, their forms shaped by cosmic waves of gravity and particle drift. But their movement is orchestrated. Each slow arc, each rise and fall of the glowing threads, produces a low harmonic tone, like the resonance of a single chime stretched into infinity. No two tones are the same, yet they blend together perfectly, creating a living harmony that plays across your vessel like a soft breeze. Inside the ship, the lights dim slightly, allowing the sonolite to spill more clearly through the observation dome. You lean forward, eyes open wide, and watch as patterns emerge. Some of the filaments pulse like strings being plucked. Others spiral in slow circles, creating a kind of visual counterpoint to the sounds they produce. The effect is not like a concert, but like floating inside an orchestra tuned to the frequency of rest. No melody, no rhythm, just presence, the layered sound of space, remembering how to feel. You pass beneath an enormous arc of indigo light, its inner edge glowing silver. As your vessel enters its shadow, the tone deepens into something round and warm, like the echo of footsteps across a vast moonlit hallway. For a moment, everything around you slows. The light thickens. The hum becomes a singular tone, not quite a song, not quite silence, a space between both. You feel it settle into your body, filling every space where tension might have once lived. The ship does not move faster, it simply floats, completely held within the arc's resonance. Then from the periphery, new colors begin to rise, soft bursts of cyan and peach drifting inward like waves of scent or breath. They don't appear randomly, they pulse in response to the tones already present. These are response lights, harmonics shaped by the movement of your vessel, or your thoughts, or perhaps by something deeper still. They swirl and curl in your wake, painting the space behind you with long trails of color that echo the sound left behind. It's said that in the sonolite fields, the universe plays with whoever is listening, not to impress, not to teach, but to be known. You realize now that the fields aren't random phenomena. They are the aftershocks of celestial events too massive and ancient to witness. When two neutron stars merged, when a supernova bloomed and collapsed, when a black hole sang in frequencies too low for ears, all of it left behind vibrations. And here, in this unique space, those vibrations never faded. They slowed, They softened. They painted themselves into light, folded into waves that now drift endlessly, humming the memory of creation in tones soft enough to cradle the mind. The ship moves on, drawing near to what appears to be a vast cathedral of sound. Before you rises a field of vertical columns, shimmering towers of light suspended without foundation. Each one vibrates at a slightly different frequency, glowing in a spectrum unique to its tone. The ship slows as it enters their midst, and you are surrounded by gentle harmonies that shift as you pass between the towers. Low tones, high chimes, the soft ring of something close to silent. You feel each note as if your body itself is part of the orchestra, an instrument tuned not to music, but to calm. One tower in particular seems to call to you. It pulses in shades of dusty rose and silver blue, its tone round and slow, like a bell rung beneath deep water. The ship pauses beside it, allowing the light to wash over the viewing dome. The interior of your cabin fills with that glow, and you feel a shift, not dramatic, not immediate, but steady. Your memories begin to soften, not vanish, just float. The edges blur, the weight of moments lifts. You are not lost in them, and they are not gone. They are being cradled by the sound. You close your eyes, and it feels like being rocked in a gentle tide. You stay there for a long while, maybe minutes, maybe longer. There is no hurry, no clock. The sunlight fields don't measure time, they dissolve it. Around you, the light sings. The tone vibrates softly beneath your thoughts. It does not guide you toward anything. It holds you simply and quietly, until you are ready. Eventually, your ship eases away from the tower. The tone lingers, then fades into the soft choir of resonance that fills the region beyond. The field begins to thin, the light stretches farther apart, and the tones soften into the distance. The last of the threads hum gently behind you, like the final notes of a dream slipping into memory. And just ahead, space begins to grow clearer, sharper. A region where sound ends and light begins again. You are nearing the edge of the sleeping suns, where dormant stars cradle a corridor of starlit dusk and perpetual dream. You first notice the dimness, not a darkness, but a gentling of light. The stars here don't burn, they glow softly, slowly, each one surrounded by a faint halo of silver or ash gold, like candles half buried in snow. They do not pulse, they do not blink. These are the sleeping suns, stars that have retreated from brilliance, drawing their fire inward, content now to rest in their long, quiet twilight. Some say they're stars nearing their final phase. Others say they're stars choosing stillness, declining to burn not by exhaustion, but by wisdom. The truth is neither known nor needed. What matters is how they make you feel. The ship drifts into their midst like a feather carried by breath. Around you, the stars are not arranged in lines or clusters, but gathered like old companions circling a shared silence. They float in gentle formations, surrounded by thin veils of stardust that barely move. You pass near one, a wide, golden star, round as a pearl and silent as stone. And for a moment, the light from its halo filters through your window, casting the cabin in a color not found on any spectrum. It's a shade you feel more than see, the color of stillness, the color of time paused just before dawn, the color of long-forgotten dreams. Beyond it, another sun drifts, smaller, silvery lavender, with gentle rings curling around it like a sleepwalker's breath. It feels as though you are passing through a dream preserved, not by freezing, but by listening. The stars do not speak, they murmur in presence alone. You don't know what these suns once were, or what they could become, but they radiate acceptance. They ask for nothing. They offer nothing but the luxury of existing without effort. You lean your head back, letting your breath slow, and for the first time in this journey you feel not as though you are moving forward, but as if everything you've passed through has been bringing you here. Within the heart of the region lies the dusk cradle, a cluster of a dozen sleeping stars held in an orbital formation so slow, so wide it can only be seen in the long arc of years. Their light reflects on one another in looping echoes, bathing the surrounding space in a soft hue, not unlike twilight on Earth, when the sky can't decide whether to sleep or stay awake a little longer. The ship moves toward it, gently nudged into a wide curve around the outer rim of the cradle. You drift through the glow, feeling the presence of light that has chosen rest. The kind of light that doesn't seek attention, doesn't insist on direction. It is simply there, suspended, like a whisper kept close to the heart. As you float within the dusk cradle, your own thoughts begin to mirror the stars. Not loud, not busy, just present. You recall things, but only faintly. Images of rain on glass, the curve of a smile, a voice saying your name in the quiet. These memories don't arrive to teach or pull you back. They settle beside you, like old friends sitting in silence, their presence enough. The stars around you echo that stillness, their halos brushing gently against the ship's sensors, casting faint patterns across the interior. Soft arcs of pale blue and ember, drifting like fog across walls and floor. A few moments later, or perhaps longer, the ship begins to drift lower within the region, approaching a particularly wide star. Its glow a deep bronze, almost copper. Its light pulsing so slowly that the rhythm feels like the tide. Beneath its halo floats a long, flat sheet of crystalline particles, what early starfarers once called a nightbed. These wide, disk-like clouds form only near the calmest stars. They are made of particles so fine, they hover in equilibrium, disturbed by nothing. The ship comes to rest above it, hovering just meters above the gently shimmering field. You feel it, not as a landing, but as a pause, a permission to be still. In this stillness, even the quiet becomes something you feel. It fills the spaces between your thoughts, settles into the lines of your breath, and smooths the places within you that once carried noise. The ship's lights dim completely, leaving only the ambient glow of the dusk cradle to illuminate the cabin. You sit within it, surrounded by sleeping suns and infinite calm, and you let go, not of consciousness, but of effort, of striving, of motion. Here, you are allowed to exist without shape, without task, just as the stars do, just as they always have. Outside, a soft drift of dust crosses the field, casting faint shadows across the star's halo. It looks almost like snowfall, except it is slow, impossibly slow. Each particle catching a fraction of the star's bronze light and bending it into a shimmer. The ship rocks gently, a slow sway, like a cradle pushed once and then left to settle on its own. In this motion, you sense something ancient, the first memory of rest, the echo of a time before the stars sang, before galaxies spun. This is where light first learned to wait. Somewhere far off in the distance, beyond the edge of the cradle, a single note rings out, low and soft, not musical, but meaningful. You hear it not with ears, but in the space beneath your ribs, a tone held just long enough to remind you the journey is not over, only paused. The note fades, and silence returns like a friend stepping gently back into the room. Eventually the ship's systems stir once more. Lights rise slowly, instruments hum quietly. There is no alarm, no announcement, just a change in tone, an invitation to begin drifting again, gently onward. You feel no urgency. The sleeping suns remain behind, untouched, their halos soft as breath. You pass one last star, small, violet, its light almost translucent, and feel its glow ripple through your chest like a lullaby. And then, just ahead, the stars begin to form lines once more, paths, constellations slowly taking shape, not random, not arranged by any known force, but shaped like rivers flowing toward a quiet ocean. In the distance, a wide band of starlight shimmers like a ribbon tossed into the air, pale, blue-white, dusted with tiny moving specks of color. You are approaching the Aurora Bridge, where the stars weave themselves into threads of drifting light, forming the slowest, softest crossing in the known sky. From the hush of the dusk cradle, Your ship stirs like a leaf floating from still water, not lifted, not propelled, but gently invited. The last of the sleeping suns fall behind, each one dimming slightly in the distance, as if bowing back into their slumber. You feel no pull to stay, but neither is there a push to move on. The transition, like everything in this journey, happens softly. Ahead, the stars begin to align. Their scatter becomes flow. Their light gathers and stretches, bending into long, pale strands, forming delicate arcs across the canvas of space. They do not shine brighter. They simply gather. The moment is tender. Something is unfolding. The Aurora Bridge rises like a whisper from the dark, stretched wide across the starscape, shimmering with movement that isn't motion but transformation. You do not see it all at once. It unveils itself gradually, like the lifting of morning fog to reveal a horizon made of silk. First you notice the glow, a soft curve of silver and rain-washed blue, drifting like breath in the distance. Then the structure becomes clear, a series of luminous threads, long and graceful, stretched between anchor points of light that pulse in harmony. Each thread shimmers with its own current of color, gentle waves of opal, moonstone, and jade that run slowly along their length. This is no construction. It is not made. It is grown, formed from the drifting union of stardust and light song over eons of calm. The ship does not question its path. It simply drifts forward, placing itself within the bridge's slow current. As it does, the threads respond, bending gently as though welcoming a familiar guest. There is no sound, and yet something hums softly beneath your thoughts. A quiet awareness, a tone not heard but understood. The bridge carries not only the ship, but your attention, guiding your senses along each luminous strand like fingers grazing silk ribbons hung in the air. Below and above, the stars thicken into fog, a wide, glowing sea, while the bridge stretches across them in a slow, radiant arc. You are suspended between starlight and reflection, between dusk and wonder. As the ship follows the arc, the threads begin to weave themselves more intricately. They crisscross, forming wide, shimmering panels that drift like sails in a windless sky. Each one moves almost imperceptibly, catching glints of distant galaxies and folding them into color. You realize the bridge is not just a path. It is an experience, a ribbon of light and time braided together so slowly that every color you see is the memory of motion long since past. The glow shifts with each new moment, casting soft reflections onto the ship's walls. Not static hues, but living color, hues that breathe. Lavender blushes into silver. Pale citrine deepens into a faint wine red. They move like thought, like emotion, without edges. You pass under a series of wide arches, formed by spiraling beams of sonolite, relics, perhaps from the distant fields you left behind. Their tones rise gently as you draw near, harmonizing into long, slow chords that resonate across your breath. The sound is not in the air, it's in the texture of space, the warp and weft of the light itself. The bridge sings in silence, a melody formed of presence, a hush stretched so wide that the absence becomes music. The sound, though soft, creates ripples across the strand. You see them shimmer outward in spirals, folding and unfolding as the ship passes through, like a hand brushing across still water. And then, without warning, the bridge widens, not abruptly, but like a great opening breath. The threads fall away to the edges, and before you lies a wide, luminous plain, a stretch of hovering lights, suspended in loose alignment, drifting like lanterns across an invisible stream. These are the drift lights, clusters of aged stardust and frozen gas lit softly by residual charge. They hang in midair, glowing faintly, rotating slowly on unseen axes. As your ship floats through them, each one pulses in turn, casting short, whisper-bright glimmers onto the surrounding air. It's said that no two travelers see the same patterns in the drift lights. They respond to presence, echoing memory in color. You pass one such cluster, a tight ring of lights glowing with the exact hue of the ocean at dusk, tinged with soft violet at the edge. The lights tremble as you draw near, casting a shape into your awareness. Not a visual one, but a feeling. You recognize it instantly, even without definition. The comfort of being called by name in a voice you've always known. You do not cry, you do not speak, but you remember something you hadn't known was lost. The warmth of being welcomed without needing to arrive. Further on, another group of drift lights form a veil across the bridge. The ship passes through slowly, and for a brief moment, everything around you seems to slow with it. The glow dims, the stars blur, and all that remains is a deep blue haze, like night falling in a place where time has no edges. Within that haze, a faint outline appears, the suggestion of an arch or a gateway, or simply a threshold. You pass beneath it, and you know, though nothing changes, that you have crossed into something deeper, not farther, deeper. Beyond the veil, the bridge begins its descent. The threads curve downward, not toward gravity, but toward a space where light begins to fall inward instead of outward. The colors shift again, now warmer, honeyed gold, ember, soft tea rose. These tones don't radiate, they gather, they pull inward gently, forming the first signs of the journey's next realm, a soft convergence of light and memory, known only as the hearth veil. The final stretch of the Aurora Bridge is narrower, wrapped in silken color that moves not across space, but within itself, spirals that fold like thought turned inward. The ship glides gently to a pause at its end. The stars beneath you begin to shimmer upward through the haze. They look less like stars now, and more like glimmers cast from a fire tucked behind soft fabric. Not bright, not blinding, but intimate. You do not feel small here. You feel seen, and ahead there is only light. Dim, gentle, beckoning light, curving like the flame of a lantern, carried through fog. It does not flash, it does not lead, it simply waits. You are approaching the hearth veil, where the journey bends inward, where the universe folds itself into warmth and the stars remember how to hold you. You leave the final threads of the Aurora Bridge behind, as gently as breath fades from a window pane. There is no line you cross, no sudden shift. The bridge doesn't end, it simply folds itself into the soft fabric of what comes next. The colors begin to curve inward. The stars no longer stretch away in patterns or rivers, but cluster closer, warmer, their light dimmed not by distance but by intention. They are not dimming to hide. They are dimming to calm. The veil that rises before you is not made of mist nor of gas, but of memory settled into light. You have reached the edge of the hearth veil, the quietest place in the sky. The glow ahead is different than anything before. It's not radiant, not ethereal. It is warm. The light here isn't projected. It rests, like coals wrapped in ash, like sunlight soaked into a wooden floor just after dawn. You feel it before you truly see it. A soft weight pressing gently against your thoughts, not with heaviness, but with gravity of another kind. You slow without meaning to. Your ship hums at a lower pitch. Even your breath begins to follow a deeper rhythm. It's as though the stars here are exhaling, and with each breath the entire region draws into a deeper stillness. The hearth veil is not one star, or one place, but a field of calm gathered over cosmic time, the light and dust and memory of 1,000 slow-burning stars that folded inward, choosing not to collapse or explode, but to hold. These stars did not go dark. They simply changed their purpose. Instead of pushing outward, they began to gather, not matter but presence. The result is this: a region of space that glows from within, where each point of light feels close, and every moment feels timeless. The further you drift, the more the feeling grows, like walking into a quiet room and realizing it has been waiting for you. Your ship moves along a gentle current of stardust, like a boat following the tide. All around, soft arcs of amber and cinnamon-hued light drift between star clusters like woven threads. You pass through one, and for a breath, your vision is filled with color so tender it nearly brings tears. Faded peach, sleepy rust, dusk rose. It isn't just beauty, it's recognition. You don't know what it reminds you of, and yet your heart knows the feeling. It is the color of stories told by firelight, of comfort offered without question, of being invited to rest, not because you earned it, but because you exist. The veil thickens, but it never obscures. Instead, it wraps around your ship in slow curls, like wool rising from the surface of a mug, held in winter hands. There are no sounds here beyond the subtle sigh of systems in standby. No navigation needed. The ship follows the glow as if it knows, and perhaps it does. Perhaps every vessel that drifts this far learns how to listen instead of lead. You pass a small cluster of sun-sized embers, each pulsing at its own slow rhythm. Between them hangs a structure, or rather a pattern of particles, so fine, so precise. They've gathered into the shape of a cradle. It rocks gently. There is no object inside it, only light, and yet it feels full. They call these rest wells, the natural formations of stillness that bloom within the hearth veil. Some are shaped like nests, others like circles of glowing hay. All of them pulse at frequencies low and soft, vibrating just at the edge of awareness, designed by no hand, intended for no purpose but welcome. As your ship floats past, a rest well shifts ever so slightly, its glow adjusting to the presence of your vessel. It does not open, it does not call, it simply changes, as if acknowledging that you too carry stories, that you too may need somewhere to set them down. Further inward, the stars begin to speak in flickers, not of light, but of memory. The glow becomes textured, like old pages lit by a fire's flicker. The light dances gently across your viewing dome, casting stories that can't be read, only felt. A nebula-like curve of dust swirls near a pale silver star, forming a loop that circles back into itself. The ship slows once more as it enters the loop's orbit, and something deep within the hearth veil responds. Not a voice, not a message, just a pulse. One long, slow, steady heartbeat of light. You sit still, held within it. The stars seem to gather closer. The field grows quieter, and then the veil begins to fold. Not closing, not hiding, but enfolding, like a hand wrapping around yours in comfort. You don't feel compressed. You feel surrounded. The light moves inward, and then outward again, as if breathing with you. You are no longer watching this place. You are part of it. Inside the fold, something new appears, a spiral of glowing dust surrounding what looks like a dark sphere. It doesn't emit light, but neither does it absorb it. It simply exists, floating, still, perfectly centered. This is the anchor light, the quiet heart of the hearth veil. It is not known how it formed, or if it is truly a light at all. Some say it is the point where every dream carried into the hearth veil comes to rest. Others say it is a threshold between motion and being. But all who arrive here agree on one thing. It is the most peaceful place they have ever known. Your ship hovers nearby. The dark sphere does not stir, but around it, faint glimmers begin to appear. Memories, not just your own. The soft residue of travelers long gone, or not yet arrived. You see flickers, a feather falling through air, a hand resting on a shoulder, a slow dance beneath string lights, waves lapping at a shoreline beneath a moonless sky. None of them belong to you, and yet all of them feel like home. The anchor light does not show them. It remembers them, the way a quiet room remembers laughter, the way a trail remembers footsteps long after they've passed. You close your eyes, you breathe. Time slips away, not in speed, but in softness. The ship does not move, and neither do you. And in that stillness, the hearth veil wraps itself around you, not as a place, but as an embrace. When you open your eyes, the anchor light is dimmer, as if it knows your journey is ready to continue. The rest wells shimmer gently behind you, and the soft curl of stardust, opens into a new corridor. Far ahead, light begins to change again. Pale, scattered glints, like frost in moonlight. Not quite stars, not quite particles. A new shimmer unlike anything yet seen. You are approaching the whisper fields, where the light does not glow but speak. You leave the hearthvale as one rises from deep sleep, slowly with gentleness, carrying the warmth with you. The light dims gradually, not in sorrow, but as a lantern being carefully hooded. Its flame rasps for another night. The ship begins to drift again, forward into a part of space that seems to sparkle at its very edges. You notice it first in the corners of your vision. Little glints that come and go without pattern, like stardust catching in water, then vanishing. But they are not stars, not particles, not quite light. They are whispers, and they rise in number, gently, steadily, as your ship enters the whisper fields. This region of space holds no stars, no planets, no formations that science would note or name. But for those who drift far enough, quiet enough, the whisper fields reveal themselves. They are formed not of matter, but of luminous imprints, echoes of energy and thought, so delicate that they never took full shape, yet never faded completely. They float here, layered and scattered, like frost that never melts. Some believe they are the dreams of stars themselves, others, the last breath of travelers who never returned. Whatever they are, they shimmer with purpose too subtle for language. They exist not to be explained, but to be felt. As your ship floats further in, the glimmers grow more frequent. They do not pulse or blink. They flicker softly, here and then gone. Not in distance, but in attention. Some drift toward the ship, brushing past the outer hull in faint trails of phosphorescent color. They don't light the cabin, yet you feel their presence as clearly as warmth in a hand. They aren't memories, exactly. They are not visions. They're something older than either. The suggestion of something no. You see one near the viewing dome. A tiny flare of blue that curls like smoke, glimmers once, then fades. And for a moment, just one heartbeat, you remember the exact sound of rain on a roof you once knew. The whisper fields do not speak aloud. They do not press into your mind. Instead, they suggest the way music can suggest grief without showing sadness, or the way light through trees can suggest an entire childhood. The glimmers gather near the ship, then drift apart, then gather again, always slow, always. Some move like drifting notes, others like leaves in gentle current. They are not here to teach or reveal. They are here to be. And in their being, they allow you to feel things left untouched by time. Thoughts, not forgotten, but set aside. Words never spoken, but never truly lost. Your ship begins to follow a current, not of gravity, but of motion too subtle to track. The glimmers seem to open a path, and the vessel drifts forward without sound. Along the way, the field thickens, not crowded, not loud, just deeper, dense, like snowfall that has settled into a hush, so complete it becomes a kind of stillness, beyond silence. Here the whisper lights drift in long strands, weaving together as they pass the ship, forming temporary constellations that shimmer only for a moment, before dissolving into nothing again. And then, without warning, without fanfare, a shape forms before you, a wide, gentle wave of light, arched like a shell, its interior filled with swirling glimmers. This is the echo veil, a rare and delicate phenomenon within the whisper field. It is a cocoon of layered whispers, collected over what must be millions of years, held together by nothing but the gravity of silence. The ship drifts toward it, and as it nears, the outer edge of the veil begins to shimmer in sequence, a cascade of soft lights flickering across the dome. It's as though the veil recognizes you, and welcomes you not with sound, but with remembrance. The ship passes through, and the inside is immediately still. The glimmers do not drift here, they hold, Hover, float in a state that seems less like motion and more like contemplation. You are inside a moment, made visible, and in the heart of the veil lies a cluster of whisper lights, so dense, they pulse as one. Their colors shift gently, warm gold, cool teal, soft rose. Each pulse is matched by a sensation, a scent, a texture, the memory of a name. You do not hear these things, you feel their nearness. They are not yours, and yet they feel known. You realize that you are not watching the whisper fields. You are part of them now. Your own breath leaves a trace. Your thoughts leave a shimmer. The field absorbs nothing. It only reflects. You are gently mirrored back in the smallest flicker of light. A flash of violet beside your head. A curl of blue just outside the dome. Each one a kindness, a signal that says, you were here. You are not recorded. You are remembered. The ship floats within the veil for a long time. There is no clock, no measurement, just pulse and glow, shimmer and breath. And then, slowly, the whisper lights begin to part. The veil unfolds, gently releasing the vessel. As though returning it from a dream, the glimmers thin again, the flickers soften, and the current resumes. You are moving once more, not pulled, but invited forward. In the distance, beyond the last faint flashes of light, the stars begin to form again, not in the clustered shapes of galaxies or fields, but in rows, in perfect, quiet line. They form a boundary of sorts, a corridor of tall, slowly spinning light that stretches into the deepest part of the dark. You are approaching the hall of time beneath, a sacred and slow region of space, where the stars do not burn but measure, where each rotation is a moment, and each flicker a footstep through forever. The last glimmers of the whisper fields fade like candlelight in mist. No sudden extinguishing, only a hush. The field becomes emptier now, not barren but cleared. A vast, quiet chamber stretching out before you. And across that slow, swirling silence, something begins to take shape. Long vertical lines of light, tall, straight, perfectly spaced, dozens, then hundreds, then thousands, receding into a horizon you cannot see. They shimmer not with brightness, but with certainty. Each one rotates ever so gently, their axis slow and exact, never wavering. You have arrived at the hall of time beneath, a realm where light is not merely seen but counted. The ship drifts into the first row. The passage between the beams is wide, yet not empty. The air, if it could be called that, holds the hush of a place that remembers everything. Here, each tall column of light is a record, a monument, a moment. These are the chronolights, silent sentinels of space-time, born not from matter but from rhythm. Each one rotates at a unique, steady pace, so slow you'd miss it if you weren't watching for hours. But they do move, and in that movement they mark. Some say they mark the lives of stars, others believe they are the breaths of the universe itself, turned into light, so nothing will be forgotten. They are tall, impossibly so, each rising from the unseen depths below the void, reaching upward until their peaks vanish into dark. You can't see where they end. You aren't meant to. Their glow is soft, amber, slate silver, and moon-touched lavender. Nothing about them blinks. Nothing pulses. The light here is constant, timeless. As your ship passes through, it feels less like travel and more like turning the pages of a slow, eternal book. Each beam passed is a sentence, a thought, a gentle tap of time's long finger against the shoulder of existence. The ship hums low, a reverent tone, almost respectful, as if it too recognizes where it is. You aren't flying now. You are walking, gliding, floating along the slowest hallway in the cosmos. No wind, no echo, only the breath of stars that learned how to wait. The chronolights do not acknowledge your presence, but they feel it. You see their reflections shift subtly as you pass, their surface waves changing like silk moved by the brush of a hand. You realize something unusual. These columns do not reflect what is. They reflect what was. You gaze into one of them, and a shape begins to form. Not clear, not complete. A silhouette, a memory, not your own but of someone, something long past. You watch as it moves in slow rhythm across the mirrored light. A figure walking, a hand reaching out, a smile that fades like starlight, then it's gone, and the light returns to stillness. The chronolights do not tell stories. They hold them, not to show, not to keep, but to remember in a way that doesn't change what is but cradles what has been. Further in, the corridor opens slightly, revealing a wider stretch where the chronolights form soft spirals. The ship turns inward, curving gently along the spiral path. Here, the silence deepens. There are no sounds, not even systems within the ship, only breath, only presence. The spiral tightens, and in its center you find something breathtaking. A circle of stars, each dimmed to a soft silver, rotates around a single unmoving column of black glass light. This is the still point, the axis of the hall, a place where movement becomes memory, and memory becomes light. The black column doesn't glow. It reflects perfectly. Within it, you see the stars behind you, the ship, your own eyes, and for the briefest flicker, something else, a moment in your life that shaped you, long forgotten, now caught like a whisper between blinks. You do not cry, you do not speak, you simply breathe and allow the still point to hold that memory quietly, with care. The ship rests there a while, orbiting the center of the spiral, taking no more than needed, giving nothing it must, and then, as always, it moves on, lifting outward into the far lanes of the hall. The chronolights stretch again into tall rows, but now they've changed. They shimmer slightly warmer. Their light tilts gently inward, forming a canopy of radiance that arches across your path. You're not sure when it started, but the space above you is now filled with faint, translucent arches, luminous bridges between the pillars of time. You pass beneath one such bridge, and a sensation washes over you like sleep returning after waking. A memory rises, yours this time, unbidden but gentle. The smell of pages turned in a quiet room, the weight of a coat being wrapped around your shoulders. A voice, years gone, humming something into dusk. It stays with you only a moment, then drifts away gently. The chronolights don't keep what they find. They simply reflect, and in that reflection you are reminded that nothing, no matter how long past, is ever fully lost. Eventually the chronolights begin to space farther apart. The corridor thin, the long stretch of time slowly dissolves into stars once again. Wide, soft constellations returning, their light curling like fingers around the edges of a warm shawl. You pass the last set of chronolights. 3 tall beams, one rose-hued, one golden gray, one the color of frost caught on glass. They stand like gateposts, marking the final threshold. And then, you are through. Ahead, space opens into a slow blossom of color. Wide, diffused, not like a nebula, not like a starfield. Something softer, more intimate. The shape is unclear, but its feeling is familiar. The light is layered. Peach, dove gray, lilac, cream, flowing slowly like painted fabric laid across air. You are approaching the woven fold, where space bends not for movement, but for restoration, where stars drift not apart, but together into quiet harmony, and where all that has been held, remembered, and stilled begins to thread itself back into the quiet body of the dream. The chronolights of the Hall of Time beneath fade into distance behind your ship like the last strokes of ink on parchment, slowly drying into quiet. Their tall silhouettes no longer cast long reflections. Now they rest, faint and even, their memory carried not in your mind but gently in your breath. You've passed through time's great library, and ahead, space curves inward again. Not into darkness, but into something deeper, warmth made from gravity. Stillness turned soft. The stars here do not shine. They glow inwardly, as though the universe has tucked them under a blanket of breath and whispered, "Rest now. Let the light soften." You've entered the woven fold, It does not appear as structure, but as sensation first. A slow enfolding presence, like stepping beneath heavy blankets after a long journey. There is no resist. The ship coasts forward and the space around it begins to thicken with color. Soft and fine, like dyed mist drifting across old silk. The stars here are fewer, but closer. Their light diffused through layers of translucent filaments that bend gently through the void. These filaments are not random. They weave together in loops, arches, and crossings. Like a great cosmic quilt, always shifting, never unraveling. This place is not a field of stars. It is a tapestry, alive, glowing, remembering. The ship slows, drawn not by gravity but by rhythm. The slow, pulsing cadence of woven light guiding you deeper. Outside the viewing dome, you see it clearly now. The folds of space gathered in curves and lines, forming soft shapes that echo the human heart's deepest pattern. A spiral folding inward, a cradle gently curved, a knot unraveling, only to be rewoven again. These shapes aren't symbols, they are meanings, the kind you don't read, the kind you feel without trying. The fold isn't here to tell you what was or what will be. It's here to remind you what it feels like to belong. Among the filaments, small patches of concentrated glow drift like lanterns, scattered lights held in place not by force but by grace. These are called memory nodes by star sailors who passed before you. They form where emotions settle into the weave, where moments, not just yours, come to rest. As your ship passes near one, it pulses faintly, pale gold, then a soft indigo, then back again. Within its surface, a shimmer stirs, a child's laugh echoing down a hallway, a hand brushing past tall grass, the hush before a story is told. You don't see these things, you remember them, even if they were never yours. The fold accepts everything. It binds nothing. It's said that the woven fold is where the universe mends itself, not through force, but through quiet reunion, where starlight returns to the places it came from, where the weight of time unspools across the weft of eternity and settles, finally, into peace. Your ship becomes part of it now, its smooth hull wrapped in slow drifting fibers of light that move like breath, wrapping and releasing, never restricting. You feel it even without touch, like fingers running across your thoughts, smoothing out their edges, tugging gently at threads that have frayed over long passage. You reach a section where the fold arches into a wide vaulted chamber, not enclosed, not separate, but defined by interwoven arcs of mist light, curling into a dome-like structure suspended in space. Beneath it lies a shallow basin of stars, glowing like coals beneath rice paper. The basin doesn't pull you down, it holds you above, floating just within reach. This is the cradle loop, where the fold reaches its most intricate and intimate expression. The ship settles above it, and you feel your body soften even further, as though the gravity of every sorrow you've forgotten has found rest in this place. And yours may now too. All around the loop, filaments drift inward, not tangled, not fixed, just braided. Some weave into pairs, some into trios, some pass alone but never disconnected. It is a silent language, and you find yourself understanding it without translation. One braid glows rose and dusky blue, another hums in dull copper and gray. You feel it in your skin. The first is joy held softly in grief. The second is patience, finally returned. These aren't ideas, they're textures of the soul, rendered in light and folded back into space itself. The fold is not made of stars, it is made of being. As the ship rests above the cradle loop, you close your eyes, not from tiredness, but from fullness. A warm quiet gathers in your chest, like hearing your name called gently after forgetting it for a long, long time. Time does not pass here. It unthreads. It becomes pattern and motion. Nothing to keep, only to feel. And as you rest, the ship pulses once, gently, not an alert, a gesture, an acknowledgement. The fold is welcoming you in. You drift further, deeper. The walls of the fold curl tighter now, into smaller, more intimate spaces, pockets where light gathers like nests. Each space hums with a unique tone, barely audible, yet undeniable. You pass through one, then another, each one different. One feels like the last words of a lullaby, another like the hush between pages. One hums like the echo of gratitude. You begin to feel them within you, collecting, not like weight, but like one. And then, near the deepest bend of the fold, you find a gathering of threads wrapped into a sphere, not a tight knot, but a center. This is the heart stitch, a phenomenon rarely spoken of, known only through whispers and dream lore. It is said to be where the fold began, not from explosion, but from holding. The heart stitch pulses very slowly. Its glow is the softest yet nearly invisible, like heat rising from hands clasped together. It doesn't pull you in, it's simply off, a place to settle, to be remembered, to remember. The ship hovers near it, its lights dimming to almost nothing. You sit, still and slow, and allow the moment to be enough. And for a while, maybe the longest while yet, there is only this soft light, slow breath, woven calm. You are not moving forward anymore. You are being gathered. When the ship stirs again, it does so like a sigh, like silk pulled through water. The fold loosens, never unraveling, just opening slightly. And through that parting, you see something glimmer. Not near, not far, a slow shimmer rolling across the edge of a horizon, folding into itself with 1,000 colors that never repeat. You are approaching the rainbowing drift, the final arc of dream space, where all the light gathered along your journey is gently returned to the star. The woven fold eases away behind your vessel, not as something left, but as something carried, wrapped into the fibers of memory like a whisper held close to the chest. The ship moves forward with no effort, no acceleration. It simply glides, weightless in purpose, quiet in breath. The sky ahead has shifted once more, not into darkness, but into glimmer, wide, soft glints, stretching across space like dust scattered across an endless sheet of velvet. These glints shimmer in slow rhythm, gathering into curves and swirls of light. And in their gentle flow, something begins to take shape. You are entering the rainbowing drift, a region of wide, breathing color, where light becomes motion, and motion becomes memory. It is not a rainbow in the way you've known them. There is no arc, no bridge from rain to sun. Here, the rainbow drifts. It moves like wind that remembers song. It flows not along a line, but through presence, soft tidal pulses of pigment that fold inward and outward like silk being stirred by unseen hands. At first, the color is faint, a thin haze of gold, just above the visible horizon. Then violet rises, curling inward, followed by pale rose, green brushed with silver, and amber hues that stretch like sun across old parchment. Your ship floats into it, not as a traveler, but as part of the current, a leaf joining the stream. The color doesn't wash over you, it welcomes you, surrounding the vessel in a layered gradient of shifting light that never repeats itself. Each pulse is new, each shimmer is a moment. These colors don't shine, they breathe. Some are transparent, others woven so tightly they appear nearly solid, like painted glass. You pass beneath a low current of indigo mist, and the interior of the ship is bathed in hues that make thought slow to a hum. The walls shimmer faintly, reflecting not only the light outside, but something softer, a kind of mirrored calm, a hush made visible. And in the center of it all, you feel your breath align with the drift, long, unhurried, deep. Along the edges of the drift, great sheets of iridescent light begin to unfold. They stretch upward in spirals, bending like sails. These are color wings, formations grown not from matter but from harmony. They shimmer with rhythm rather than pattern, their waves pulsing with the slow heartbeat of the region. No two are the same. You pass beneath one shaped like an unfurling petal, its light rippling between gold and coral, then slipping into soft cerulean. Others resemble wide fans, gently rotating in slow spirals, always shifting, never still. Within the color wings, finer threads of light drift through the current. These are called light leaves, long, gossamer trails, left behind by those who passed before. Some glow faintly, others have almost faded, but all linger gently, like the trails of dreams half remembered. Your own thread begins to form as well, a quiet ribbon of soft blue light that spills behind the ship in a slow arc, carried by the drift. It joins the others, not lost, but added, a presence among presences, a mark made without needing to be bold. The ship follows the flow, no course plotted, only direction felt. The deeper you drift, the more the colors soften. Reds become blush, blues fold into mist, violets fade into something like breath. And as you glide, you begin to sense that this region is not simply beautiful, it's listening. The drift does not speak, but it hums gently in reply. Your thoughts slow. Memories come unbidden, not in sharp clarity, but in shapes, the warmth of hands held, the feel of old books, the hush before snowfall. The drift does not invent these, it recalls them with you. In the heart of the rainbowing drift lies a broad basin of color, wide and low, glowing like the surface of still water painted by dusk. Here the colors settle into patterned spirals, waves, folds, all slow. The ship floats just above this basin, its reflection cast faintly downward in shimmering lavender and rose. The space becomes stiller, not frozen but resting. You feel not suspended, but held, as if the drift itself is cradling you. And then you see it, the prism nest, a rare and tender formation in the quietest bend of the drift. It appears not as a structure, but as a knot of gentle radiance, a convergence where threads of light intersect, interlace, and soften together. The nest pulses faintly, its hue always changing, though never loudly. It is the place where journeys pause, not to end but to settle. The ship eases near it. You hover there, not from intent but from instinct, as if this moment has been waiting, slowly unfolding through every part of the voyage. You remain there for a while, perhaps minutes, perhaps more. You watch as the prism nest breathes, not in and out, but in a pattern that feels like music played across silence. And in its soft rhythm, you feel your own memories unwind gently within you. Not lost, not displayed, just given space to rest. You've carried so much, and here, for now, you don't need to hold it. The drift holds you, and still the ship does not stop. Beyond the nest, the color begins to rise once more, a curve of hue folding upward like a wave preparing to roll. You see arcs of peach and starlit gray, a curl of translucent jade. In the far distance, more color wings catch the light like silk in wind, their edges bleeding into the next realm. Not one of endings, but of transformation. You are not nearing a destination, you are arriving in another part of the dream. The rainbowing drift is not the last page, it is the breath between pages. And ahead, where color begins to spiral faster, and the stars start to shape themselves into long swirling echoes, a new region glows at the edge of view, shimmering in tones not yet seen, as if being painted just for you. You are approaching the ribbon wake, where drifting light meets motion again, and the stillness you've gathered carries you onward like wind woven from memory. The rainbowing drift hums behind your vessel, like a soft chord still playing in the quiet of a room you've just stepped beyond. You carry it with you, its light still drifting along the ship's hull, its colors woven into the very silence around you. You are not leaving it, not truly. Its memory clings like warmth left in fabric, like a scent lingering in the air after a fire has burned low. But ahead, the light begins to bend again. Not backward, not inward. It begins to move, slow at first, then in graceful arcs that pulse with direction. The colors that once held still in calm now begin to flow in measured lines. You are approaching the ribbon wake. It first appears as a long strand of light, not a beam, not a streak, but a ribbon that curls and folds as though riding a current you cannot see. It spirals from the distance like ink slowly drawn across a pond, glowing in shades of moonrose and dream gold. As your ship drifts toward it, you begin to see more strands, each one flowing in its own rhythm, yet all in harmony. Together they weave across the starscape, not tangled but dancing, trails of motion formed from memory, woven by time into patterns of endless grace. Your ship joins the rhythm with no effort, caught gently in the stream of light. You feel it almost at once, the soft pull, not of gravity, but of invitation. The ribbon wake does not drag or demand. It carries. It lifts. The motion is slow, like swaying in deep water, like walking through tall grass in a breeze. The interior of the ship reflects the movement, walls awash in moving light, shifting softly between tones of rosewater, slate blue and pearl. Everything begins to feel fluid. Even your thoughts begin to loosen, slipping into longer shapes, quieter curves. The ribbon wake is not just a place of motion. It is a passage, one that connects all you've seen with all that remains unseen. The ribbons that pass your ship are made not of matter but of intent. They carry within them the residues of moments, a farewell spoken without words, a choice never made but always felt, the long pause before a truth is realized. They shimmer in trails like handwriting across sky. You pass near one that curves like a question, and for a moment, the color deepens, a dusk violet pulsing like the hush before a storm. Then it drifts upward, looping into gold, and disappears into the dark. There is music here, but not in sound, it's in timing, in the way one ribbon spirals into another, the way the current dips and slows, then lifts again. Some travelers describe it as riding a waltz written by the stars. Others call it a tide made of story. The ship follows its own path through the ribbons, but every so often, a new strand drifts close, brushing the hull, curling like a finger across a memory. These moments leave no mark on the ship, but you feel them within. A breath caught, a warmth remembered, a lightness where a burden once rested. In the heart of the ribbon wake lies a wide open space, where the strands intersect, not in a knot, but in a bloom. This is the flare wheel, a great spiral of woven light, drifting in slow turn, its arms stretched wide across the stars. It resembles a flower carved from mist, each petal made of moving ribbons, no two the same in color or motion. As you draw near, the ship joins its rotation, falling into the wide, slow loop. You can see other ships far off, distant and still, also caught in the motion, like leaves circling the same quiet pond. No one speaks here, no one needs to. The flare wheel holds you, spins you and lets you breathe again. Within this turning, you feel motion return to your being, not as restlessness, but as readiness, the kind of readiness that does not rush but knows. The colors spiral slowly outside, copper, rain-washed gray, soft marigold. They shift not just in hue but in intention. The ribbon wake carries more than light. It carries direction, formed not from maps but from longing. You begin to feel your own path taking shape within the wake, a thread of presence joining the day. The ship begins to rise along a vertical arc, following a rising curve of light that twists upward like smoke from a candle just blown out. The flare wheel slowly drifts below, shrinking into a spiral beneath you, still spinning, still glowing. You are carried onward along one of its long petal ribbons, now moving faster, though never hurried. The color sharpens into a crisp silver blue, edged in pale flame, and ahead you begin to see a shimmer on the horizon, not a star, not a glow, a fold, small, tight and pulsing. This is the loom gate, a passage where all light begins to weave itself anew, forming not just trails or tapestries, but shapes, structures, realms born from the light you've carried. The ribbon wake flows directly toward it, each strand spiraling inward as though drawn by purpose, not pressure. And still, you are calm. Still, you are drifting. Still, you are part of the quiet rhythm the stars once began and never stopped. The ribbon wake carries you onward, like a river remembering the path carved by forgotten rain. You remain weightless in its current, not because of technology, but because of trust. Trust in motion that doesn't rush, in light that doesn't blind, in rhythm that doesn't demand. Beneath the ship, spirals of drifting radiance continue to fold and unfold like wind-blown thread. Some disappear behind you. Others rise up from below, slow and gentle as tide foam caught in moonlight. But ahead, one spiral grows stronger. It spins not out and away, but inward, tighter, bright, gathering. The ship begins to respond, its glide becoming even more precise, like an arrow knocked gently into place. This is the loom gate, the woven aperture at the heart of the ribbon wake. Not a door, not a portal, but a fold in space where light learns how to shape itself again. From a distance, it seems like a spiral nebula caught mid-turn, frozen in silver and dusk. But as you near, you begin to see the threads more clearly. They aren't mist, they aren't gas, they're light lines fine as silk, luminous as breath, drawn across the fabric of space in intricate patterns that pulse in slow, deliberate rhythm. These threads don't just move, they breathe, in and out, wide and near. They are not guarding anything. They are welcoming you into something deep. As your ship drifts closer, the threads around the loom gate respond. Some begin to shimmer in faint gradients, one in tea rose and cream, another in shadowed bronze, another in a green so soft it might be the color of memory itself. They don't block your path. They make space, like curtains parting for moonlight. The gate does not swing or open. It loosens, folding slightly to one side, revealing an opening not of blackness but of deep, slow illumination. Inside lies something not yet seen but felt, a world not yet entered but waiting. The ship enters the loom gate with no ceremony, no sound, only the shift, subtle but unmistakable, of the air around you growing warmer. Not heat, closeness, a feeling like stepping into a place where your name is already known, though no one has spoken it. The passage is long and slow. The interior walls of the loom gate pulse in layers, waves of braided light rising and falling in luminous sheets. You float between them, and they don't shine. They resonate. Each wave is a chord held in silence, not music, but meaning. As you drift deeper into the gate, the patterns on the walls begin to change. At first, they were random swirls, gentle in tone. Now they take on more intentional forms. Loops, arches, intersections, and echoes. It's as if the light has begun responding, not to your ship, but to your story. A gold thread loops into the shape of a spiral that turns inward and ends in a point. A blue thread arcs wide, curves back, and slowly fades. You don't interpret them, and yet you understand. These are echoes of moments, shaped not as flashbacks, but as impressions. In the center of the gate lies a still chamber, round and hushed, a place where the threads knot softly into a pulsing core. This is the hearth knot, a point in space where the loom pauses, where the act of weaving becomes a moment of rest. The ship comes to a gentle stop, hovering in the hush of this hollow. Here, the walls are quiet, their glow low and wide, like coals tucked beneath linen. There is no motion, only presence. The hearth knot doesn't move, it waits. And within that waiting, you feel your own breath slow again, deepening into the rhythm that brought you all this way. For a long while there is nothing but glow, and in that glow a silence that speaks in shape alone. Then the loom gate begins to turn again. Not behind you, not around you, but through you. The threads pick up speed, not fast, just assured. They don't wind into a single strand. They separate, dozens, hundreds, all fanning outward, each one glowing in a slightly different color, each one leading in a different direction. But they do not pull, they do not suggest, they offer. The loom gate is not a path, it is a crossroad made of light. The ship moves forward once more, drawn toward one of the open threads, a long arc glowing faintly in soft ember and indigo. You don't choose it. It doesn't choose you. It simply aligns. The moment stretches into place like a gentle hand meeting another in passing. There is no wrong strand here, no incorrect weave, only what is ready to be woven next. And as your ship begins to follow the chosen thread, the loom gate slowly recedes, folding itself back into quiet. A loom returning to stillness after placing the next piece into the pattern. What lies beyond is soft and wide, a region where form returns, but not as it was before. Shapes float in the distance, star forms and light pools, constellations warped into new patterns. And you, now passing along this glowing thread, feel something return as well. The sense that you are not only being carried, but becoming part of the weaving itself. You are approaching the patterned sea, where the cosmos begins to write again, not in force or fire, but in loops of story formed from light, waiting to be walked like soft footsteps across a sleeping world. The thread you follow stretches ahead like a pathway laid gently across a quiet dream, glowing with the rhythm of memory and motion, pulled softly through the sky like a stitch yet to be knotted. Behind you, the loom gate folds into stillness, the last threads curling inward like contented breath. You feel its presence even as it disappears from view. Not left behind, but carried with you, woven into the fabric of the vessel, into the still spaces between your thoughts. The ship coasts forward, silent as ever, drifting along the light thread's soft glow, and the darkness ahead begins to shimmer, ripple, and bloom. You are entering the patterned sea, a place where space tells stories, not with stars or speech, but with shape, repetition, and the slow, patient dance of luminous form. It does not arrive all at once. It grows into you, as dawn does when the world is still sleeping. At first, you see only faint waves of glimmering color, teal and lavender flowing beneath you, like water lit from below. But then the light begins to settle into form, not static shapes, but gentle patterns, loops, spirals, glyphs, runes of motion. Each one drifts in and out of view with the slow grace of lanterns floating just beneath the surface of a still lake. Your ship does not steer, it follows. The thread beneath you curls in lazy arcs, dipping and rising with the confidence of something that knows exactly where it's meant to go. The sea around you moves in rhythm, slow pulses that draw you deeper. The light becomes richer now, not brighter, truer, as if the very fabric of the sea is revealing what it always held beneath its shimmer, a story that doesn't ask to be read, but simply felt. Below the ship, the sea opens into layers. Wide glowing shelves of mist light and stardust drift like the strata of some ancient text, stacked not by age, but by tone. One layer pulses in dusty rose and clay gold, its curves forming long sighing arcs that remind you of laughter caught in memory. Another layer beneath it rolls in pale aquamarine and bone white, shaped in perfect loops, calm and regular, the signature of rest unbroken. These patterns shift as you pass, never repeating, never fading, just evolving. The patterned sea is alive, not in biology, but in memory, a living manuscript written in motion. You pass a formation known to those who have come this way before, as the spires of meaning, tall, twisting columns of light that rise from the sea in slow spirals, each formed by the repeated unfolding of light into the same gesture, again and again. They are not towers, they are echoes, stories told not in detail but in theme. You drift beside one, and as your ship nears its glow, a sensation rises, the quiet recognition of a path once walked, a decision once made, the feeling of having understood something without needing words. You realize these are not decorations in space, they are signatures, shaped by those who have passed, each spiral left behind like a fingerprint of presence. The thread carries you into a low, wide valley of still light, a basin of folded silver mist, smooth as paper not yet written on, and in this space, new shapes form. Delicate patterns of movement flicker across the horizon, a swirl of concentric circles, a blooming five-petaled star, a spiral that never closes. You begin to feel them not just in vision but in body, your breath syncing with their rhythm, your heartbeat matching the pulse of the thread. You are not just observing the pattern now, you are within it. They call this central place the unwritten loom, the silent heart of the patterned sea. It is not a place for action but for alignment, a space where stories yet to be told gather like fog waiting to rise. The ship slows here, not to rest, but to float in attention. There is no motion around you now, only the gentle layering of possibility. The sea waits, and in its waiting it reflects. Outside your window, the light begins to fold in new directions, not in loops or swirls now, but in long, graceful strokes that stretch across the sea like calligraphy drawn by moonlight. These are future forms, not prophecies, but sketches of direction. They do not predict, they suggest, they do not constrain, they invite. You follow one with your eyes, a curve that begins high, loops low, and then rises again into open light. Its shape means nothing, and yet it feels like something true, and just as softly as it arrived, the moment passes. The thread beneath your ship begins to move again, resuming its rhythm. The sea begins to change once more, the light now shifting from shape into shimmer, from pattern into path. The story isn't ending, it's becoming motion again. The ship rises slightly, as the sea thins beneath it, and the patterns fade into what they showed remains with you, not as memory but as grounding, as orientation, as compass. Ahead, the darkness deepens again, not ominous, but vast, open, unshaped, and in its center something stirs, a wide, circular opening ringed in slow turning light. You are approaching the vault of quiet intent, where stars drift in long circles of choice, and space curves inward once more, to prepare for what comes next. The patterns of the sea trail behind you like strands of thought, unspoken, their loops and curls, drifting into the distance, with the grace of dreams that don't end, only settle. The ship rises, not sharply, but as if lifted by a deep breath taken by the stars themselves. The shimmer fades into a darker hue now, not the darkness of absence, but of depth, of readiness. The thread beneath you grows clearer once more, its glow narrowing into a long, steady arc of light. It is a thread not woven but chosen. Ahead, space opens again, vast and unshaped, but not empty. Its center hums with stillness, not a silence, but a concentration. It gathers you, softly, the way a hand might cup water in the dim hours before dawn. There is no sound, and yet there is gravity, not from mass, but from meaning. In the midst of this openness you begin to see it, a wide ring of slowly orbiting starlight, each point suspended in perfect relation to the others, forming a circle that turns not to mark time but to hold intention. You have reached the vault of quiet intent. It doesn't announce itself. There are no boundaries, no gates, no threshold marked. You simply arrive, The thread you followed blends into the circle's edge, dissolving gently into the wider rhythm of the vault. The ring of light rotates gently around you, not fast, not slow, but with the kind of pacing that belongs to breathing, or tides, or thought before it's spoken. Each star in the vault glows a different shade: copper, periwinkle, bronze, frost white, soft blush. None of them are fixed. They shift slowly, their hues fading in and out, responding to something older than light. The ship enters the vault with reverence, not because of command, because it feels right. You are no longer following. You are within, a part of the motion, a part of the pause. The inner sky of the vault is calm, a hollow sphere of quiet luminescence that stretches in every direction. It's said this place is formed from the residual pressure of a choice long ago made by the universe. Not a bang, but a bend, a folding of possibility into presence. This is where the stars come when they are ready not to shine but to align. And so do travelers. Around you, long arcs of radiant thread stretch from one star to another, forming wide loops and bridges of quiet connection. They're not beams, they're not corridors, they are decision lines, filaments made not from energy, but from clarity. They don't point outward, they spiral inward. The vault is not a hub, it is a heart. The patterns here don't show direction. They remind you of what you've known all along, that stillness itself is motion of the deepest kind. You float gently inward, the thread beneath you now gone, absorbed into the vault's weave. The ship hovers in the center, surrounded by the slow-turning stars. They do not orbit you, they orbit the quiet, and you too are drawn into it. For a time there is only that motion. Then the stars begin to flicker in sequence. One by one their colors shift, not in flashes, but in pulses. A wave of warm light folds across the ring, then another, then another. The stars are not signaling, they are speaking, in the only language the vault knows: rhythm and glow. You understand without needing to translate. They are reflecting the course of your journey, not by showing it, but by echoing. You feel the bends you've traveled, the hushes you've passed through, the moments when your breath joined with the pulse of a drifting thread. They do not replay the journey, they honor it. The vault is where intent returns to its source, where motion bows back to stillness and offers thanks. The stars hum in color, the ring glows steady, the ship rests in the center of all of it, held not by gravity, but by grace. And then from the depths of the vault, something begins to form. Not a light, not a sound, a shape, vast, slow, and blooming. A wide, unfolding spiral, barely visible at first, stretching from the center of the vault outward. It is not made of matter. It is not even light. It is a choice, rendered in motion. They call this formation the fold wish, the vault's gift to those who have drifted far and long and gently. It is not something you control. It is something you witness, a gesture made from the fabric of the path you followed. Your own story, turned outward, into something else. It glows faintly now, soft amber, brushed with pale indigo. The arcs curve through the stars like the turning of a page, not yet read. The ship aligns itself with the first curve. It does not accelerate, it yields. You are no longer choosing to go forward. The journey is moving through you now, carrying you into the arc, into the wider spiral, into the continuation of whatever the universe still holds, gently in the folds of what is next. The stars behind you return to stillness. The circle remains. The vault is not left behind. It stays, forever turning, a place for future breaths, for future dreams, for stories yet to be folded into thread. And ahead, the spiral opens, wide, long, luminous, not into distance, but into depth. You are approaching the star lace hollow, a cradle of woven orbits and soft gravity fields, where everything spins slowly into rest, and where drift becomes belonging. The vault of quiet intent begins to recede behind you. Its still turning ring of stars slowly dimming like the final echo of a deep bell. The full wish spiral now carries you outward. Not quickly, not far. Just forward into a curve made not of direction but of calm. You are weightless again, yet not untethered. The thread you follow feels less like guidance and more like being held by a lullaby. An unspoken melody shaped by presence alone. Space ahead looks empty at first. A stretch of pale, glittered dark with no shape to grasp. But then, slowly, a new kind of pattern emerges. It is not bright. It does not announce itself. The shift comes gradually. A faint rhythm in the way the stars begin to move. The tiniest tilt in the silence. Their paths are not linear, not scattered. They begin to spiral. Gently, slowly. Like dancers tracing arcs in the dust of a forgotten ballroom. You have entered the Starlace Hollow. The name is older than most maps, whispered between long-haul travelers, described not in coordinates, but in feelings. It's where everything drifts without falling. They say, where gravity becomes grace, and now you see why. The stars here are not fixed, nor are they rushing. They orbit, but not as planets do. They move in broad, soft loops, thousands of them, each taking its own path around invisible centers of warmth. The result is a space filled with slow choreography, a ballet of luminous presence that unfolds so gradually, you'd miss it if you tried to rush. The ship coasts into the hollow's outer layer, and at once, you feel the shift. It's not a pull, not a push, but a lean, like resting into a hammock made of silence. The stars glide past in their arcs, each one trailing soft filaments of color. Rose, frost gold, deep pine. These trails do not blur. They linger in the air, drifting for moments after the stars have passed, creating gentle spirals of memory. You float through them, your ship gathering no dust, disturbing nothing. You are not a visitor here. You are a thread joining a tapestry already in motion. Beneath your vessel, one of the larger stars completes a long arc through a folded corridor of light. Its orbit is so wide, so slow, you imagine it might take centuries to turn once. And yet, it does not feel distant. Its path is close, familiar. You watch as it passes beneath you, then drifts away in a perfect curl. Around it, tiny points of light, moons perhaps, spiral in tandem, forming lacework patterns in its wake. The hollow does not shine. It glows, constant, gentle, unwavering. You pass into the inner region now, where the orbits grow tighter, the patterns more intricate. Threads of light twist into knots and loops, forming layered designs like embroidery stitched into the dark. Some look like petals, others like woven braids. Each is unique, each alive with motion, so slow it might be mistaken for stillness. These formations are not artificial. They're the result of ancient celestial drift. Stars that learn to circle one another with care, instead of collision. Gravity in this place is more than a force. It is a relationship, a quiet promise between light and motion. I will not leave you. I will not rush you. I will simply stay. The ship slows to match the rhythm. Around you, the hollow folds deeper, its stars creating a cradle of concentric spirals. You are within the heart now, the very center of all the looping light. And here, there is a formation, unlike anything else. A vast ring of softly spinning matter. Not solid, not gaseous, but something in between. A cloud of luminous dust, starlight, and echoing warmth. This is the anchor layer, a structure that holds the hollow's balance together. Not through strength, but through stillness. The anchor lace does not emit force. It suggests gravity. Its presence invites the stars to orbit gently. Your ship comes to a drift beside it, and for a long moment, everything holds. No sound, no forward motion, just the soft hum of motion around you. 100,000 stars moving in harmony, never colliding, never rushing, only circling, as if all had agreed to exhale at the same time, forever. Within this stillness, something new begins to rise, not a sound, not a vision, but a feeling. You cannot name it. It is warmth without source, comfort without memory, a settling that reaches down into your bones and says, "This is where you remember how to be still." You realize then, the hollow does not just hold stars, it holds you, the shape of your path, the curves of your thought, the weight of all you've let go. It welcomes it all and places it gently in orbit. The anchor lace glows once, softly, in a pulse of light so faint you wonder if it was imagined. But the ship stirs, not abruptly, just a small shift, as though the hollow has said, "You may rest now, or you may continue." The invitation is always open. That is the nature of this place. You remain a while longer, suspended within that curve of quiet motion, watching stars spiral around one another like dancers who need no music, feeling time stretch into something wide and comfortable, like dusk that never becomes night. And then, slowly, the ship leans forward again, slipping from the edge of the anchor lace and back into the wider loops of the hollow. The stars part just slightly, as though stepping back to make space. A path opens, not drawn, not lit, but simply understood. You are moving again, no faster, no slower, just with intention gently resumed. And ahead, the space begins to shimmer in a new way. A slow flickering, as if stars are being lit one by one like candles in a distant cathedral. You are approaching the Hall of Candlewind, where flame meets starlight, and every flicker tells the beginning of a softer, newer dream. The starlace hollow drifts behind you, like a lullaby slowly turning to silence. Not fading, not forgotten, simply woven into you now. Its spirals still moving, still circling, but no longer around your vessel. They spin behind, looping in slow reverence, still cradling the threads of memory and motion you left in your wake. You carry none of it as weight, only warmth. The hollow taught you the language of gentle gravity, of presence without pressure. And now, as your ship moves forward once again, space itself seems to inhale, and in that breath, a new glow begins to rise. You are nearing the Hall of Candlewind. It does not arrive all at once. It emerges like a hush, turning towards sound. At first, you see faint pinpricks of light, scattered in the black like embers drifting on still air. Then, as the ship drifts closer, the lights begin to multiply, soft, golden, and low. They flicker, not like stars, not like pulses, but like flames, small, self-contained, and tender in the way they move. Each one glows as if it has just been lit, and each one leans slightly, as though stirred by a breath too delicate to hear. You are entering a region, not of brightness, but of invitation. The ship glides inward and the lights grow more numerous, arranged not in fields or clusters, but in long, winding rows. They stretch ahead of you to either side and above, like the paths of candles lining a great corridor through night. Each flicker belongs to its own star, but they feel smaller, closer, the way candlelight seems closer than fire. Each glow is just enough to show the space around it, no more, no less. The deeper you drift into the hall, the more the air inside the ship changes. You feel it, not as temperature, but texture. The light inside your cabin grows warmer. Everything begins to feel like evening. The Hall of Candlewind is not a hall in the architectural sense. It is not enclosed. There are no walls, no floor, no ceiling. It is a long, quiet expanse, where flame-like stars float in silence, each one separated just enough to honor its own story. Some call them ember stars, others call them wishing suns. Each flicker is thought to be the final glow of a single memory, not extinguished, but surrendered, not lost, but offered back into the fabric of space, where it can flicker gently forever. The ship slows now, the corridor before you curves, and the path of candlelight bends with it, forming a soft spiral, not tight like the star lace, but wide and slow, like a ribbon unrolling into the night. As you pass each flickering star, it seems to glow a little brighter, not for long, just a moment, as if acknowledging you, welcoming you into its warmth. Even if it has no words, the ship hums quietly. There are no alerts, no signals, only the light and the soft rhythmic sway of the stars around you. One of the ember stars drifts close enough that you can see it clearly, a pale flame of honey and rose gold, its outer edge flickering like the tip of a candle in a breathless room. It does not shine broadly. Its glow is intimate, directional, as though meant for only a small space. In it you see not shapes, but feelings, the warmth of touch, the hush of held silence, the quietness of being seen. The flame doesn't speak. It simply remains. And then, as you move past, it dims again, never fading, just letting go. Further in, the stars begin to form arcs, soft bridges of light, stretched between one another, each flicker forming a note in a luminous chord. This part of the hall is called the bend of breath, where the ember stars move ever so slightly, stirred by the invisible winds that give the hall its name. These winds are not made of matter. They are formed by the quiet motion of memories returning to stillness. The breath of moments, once held tightly, now exhaled across the sky. The arcs above you begin to glow with soft tones, muted amber, candle cream, twilight peach. They bend gently, swaying in unison, as if the hall itself is breathing. Your ship drifts beneath them, the flickers passing over your vessel like hands brushing across cloth. You feel the movement in your chest, not external, but internal, a kind of alignment. Your heartbeat slows. You are not just passing through the hall, you are mirroring it. Flame for breath, glow for memory, stillness for knowing. At the center of the hall lies a wide, open space, known simply as the Stillwick, a shallow dome of candlelight that curves in all directions. Here, the ember stars gather more densely, each one flickering in slow rhythm, casting long, soft shadows into the sky. The ship floats into its center and pauses. The stars do not speak. They wait, and in that waiting, something quiet inside you begins to open. You recall a single moment, not sharp, not loud, just clear, standing at a window, dusk settling on your shoulders, silence resting on the floor around you. Nothing happened, but you were there, entirely, completely. The hall holds that kind of memory, the ones too simple to capture, too sacred to forget, the ones made not of action, but of presence. The Stillwick holds you for a time, letting your own flicker join the rest. Not seen, not separate, but softly part of the whole. Then, the path begins to bend again. A new wind stirs the stars. They sway slightly, casting shimmering light across the ship, and the corridor ahead grows lighter, more silver than gold now, more fluid than fixed. The flame-like glow gives way to a shimmer. The flickers stretch, and the winds begin to spiral. You are approaching the lanthorn spiral, where breath becomes wind, and wind becomes flow, and the next dream rises not in fire, but in quiet, radiant motion. The hall of candlewind fades behind you, like the last flicker of a flame at rest, not extinguished, simply choosing stillness. Its glow lingers, warm and low, trailing behind the ship like breath cooling in evening air. Each ember star you passed remains where it was, flickering softly in your memory, like the hush that follows a story told slowly by firelight. But ahead now, the light shifts. It does not grow brighter. It moves, not quickly, not with urgency, but with a rhythm like the curling of incense smoke, or the unfolding of silk in wind. You are drifting into the lanthorn spiral. It begins as a shimmer. At first, it's hard to distinguish from the normal scattering of stars. Small glints across the dark, subtle as stardust. But they don't stay still. They stretch, elongate, and begin to arc. One by one, the lights draw into spiraling curves that form long silver lines. Each one drifting in slow, elegant motion. The air inside the ship seems to change. It's no longer just still. It's moving, breathing. A current not made of force, but of grace. This is the spiral's signature. A wind made of light. A path shaped by exhalation. Nothing here presses. Everything invites. Your ship glides into the first great curve. A sweeping ribbon of pale shimmer that coils like a river in slow dream time. All around you, other ribbons drift in soft layers, overlapping and peeling away like the turns of a music box unwinding gently after the melody ends. These ribbons are not solid. They are not composed of dust or gas. They are made of motion, suspended in light, as if someone once painted the path of a breeze and set it turning forever. You are within one of those painted breezes now, spiraling slowly forward. The interior of the ship reflects the light differently here. The shimmer does not stay on the walls. It dances across the ceiling, the floor, the console beside you. It bends and twirls, soft and silver, like mist catching sunlight. Your reflection appears and disappears in fragments, always in motion, always shifting. It feels less like seeing yourself and more like watching your presence ripple across space. You are no longer still. Even in stillness, you move with the spiral. Even in silence, you hum. They say the lanthorn spiral is a place where light remembers how to flow without purpose, where the winds of the galaxy come to rest, not in quiet, but in form. The ribbons of motion are not random. They echo the curves of ancient nebulae, the long tails of comets, the distant arms of galaxies too large to see. You are inside one such arm now. Not a galaxy, but a gesture, a cosmic flourish, slowed and magnified, filled with subtle currents that cradle your vessel like a tide too soft to name. Further ahead, the spiral begins to narrow. The wide loops contract gently, drawing your ship into tighter orbits. The shimmer grows more focused. Threads of light peel inward, curling like the lines in a fingerprint made of starlight. You pass beneath one such fold, a wide arc glowing in pearl and faint lavender. It pulses, not in brightness, but in motion, rising and falling like a long, slow sigh. Beneath it, your ship drifts into a pocket of space known as the hollow coil. The hollow coil is a resting point within the spiral, a central curl where the wind pauses, regathers, and breathes again. It is shaped like a shell, a wide spiral with nested layers, and the stars that form its edges drift in long looping paths around one another. There is no center, only soft turning. You settle there for a time, your ship matching the rhythm of the stars. The shimmer outside slows. The light thickens. It's not dense, but intimate, like being wrapped in luminous fabric, each fold catching part of your memory and holding it gently in place. You close your eyes, you feel yourself circling inward, not as a ship, not even as a thought, just as breath, folded into light, a piece of still motion. The hollow coil breathes around you. Its shimmer dims, its spiral widens, and then softly, the current resumes. Your ship drifts out of the coil and rejoins the outer arcs of the spiral, where the shimmer stretches long again. The light is more golden here, not like sun, but like the edge of a candle's reach. It catches faint shapes in the dark, silhouettes of structures made entirely from windfold. These are called lanthorns, starborn lighthouses, not built, but grown from spiraling light over uncountable years. Each one spins slowly, casting arcs of shimmer across the lanes. You pass one shaped like a blossom unfurling. Its arms stretch wide, catching the light and bending it outward into long veils of color. Another resembles a bell, turned upside down, with threads of shimmer pouring downward like sound turned visible. The ship tilts slightly as it drifts past them. There are no engines needed. The spiral moves you, and you move with it. You are not being taken, you are being included. A dancer in a great, slow waltz of soft starlight. Beyond the lanthorns, the shimmer begins to fade. Not quickly, not completely, just enough that the stars become stars again. And the wind grows still. You feel the absence like a pause in music. The moment after the note before the next one begins. The spiral doesn't end, it releases, and ahead through the soft parting of the final curl, you see it. A wide, empty space, dusted with the faintest light, pale gray and violet, like snow drifting in a field long after nightfall. You are approaching the field of falling quiet, where the shimmer slows into silence once again, and the next part of the dream begins to unfold, not in wind but in hush. And so, dear traveler, the stars begin to dim. The colors that once shimmered across your path soften into stillness, folding into the quiet corners of the cosmos like a lullaby drawing to its final note. You've wandered gently through nebulae, woven your breath into starlight, and floated weightless through spirals of flame, shimmer, and silence. Now the journey slows, not to end, but to rest, like a dream curling softly into sleep. Thank you for being part of this quiet voyage, for watching, for drifting with me through a sky that asked nothing but presence. As the last light fades and the space around you holds its breath, let your own breath slow. Let your own breath slow. Let your eyes grow heavy. Let sleep take its place beside you, gentle and vast. The stars will wait, and the dream will always be here, whenever you wish to return. Good night.